All sports, all the time.
There's heroes and there's legends. Heroes get remembered. Legends never die.
This is the Spoken Podcast.
Hold your ears, folks. It's showtime.
I'm your host, Lance Twidwell.
Man, that kid, he can ball, man. He can ball.
Touchdown, Kansas City!
Patrick freaking Mahomes, baby!
Let's talk some sports, because that's what we're here to do.
You are tuned in to The Spoken.
This is the Spoken Podcast. I'm your host, Lance Twidwell, here inside the Spoken Studios with my guy, Trevor Twidwell.
What's good?
And Eddie Ortiz.
Yo.
Episode 158 in full swing, full motion, man. We are so happy to be here with you guys. We're so happy that you are here with us, as we do each and every week. We appreciate from whether you're live streaming, your Facebook, or your YouTubing, or your podcasting like the originals did. We want to thank you for being here with us, man, because we got a lot to talk about. We got a lot of sports to get to. There's a lot going on. We got all the tournaments going on, getting ready for March Madness. This is one of the best times of the year when it comes to basketball if you follow college sports, which we don't talk a lot about here, but we got maybe takes here or there. We got a great few games coming up today with that. In regards to that, the NBA is going all full-fledged. We have NFL free agency news coming about because this upcoming Monday, the free agency season kicks off, and that is when things really start to get good. We've heard some incredible stories coming out already, things that have been confirmed in the league, across the league, and we're going to get to all that in just a second. We have the Eddie Hour. We're going to get some thought-provoking questions, I'm assuming, from our guy Eddie, and we have, of course, we're going to be handing out some else because we do that each and every week. You guys know, you already know how this thing goes down, man. And speaking of going down, what a freaking week it has already been. Again, free agency hasn't even officially begun yet, and we have heard about trades. We've heard about signings that are not official until Monday, but we know that they're going down. And that's actually where I want to start right here and right now. I hope you guys are strapped in, buckled in, man, because I have a lot to say, and I can't wait to get Trevor and Eddie's thoughts on what I'm about to say, because there has been a storm brewing in the AFC West in particular. And that storm has been filled with panic, dismay, and fear. And I am here to be the one to bring some calm to said storm. First off, on Monday, the Chiefs tagged left tackle Orlando Brown Jr. as everyone expected. His cap hit is currently sitting at around $16.5 million, which would go directly against, like I said, the cap. So the Chiefs are going to obviously not leave that as is. They're going to be looking for that long-term extension to obviously soften the blow of that cap hit, bring that down, and also shore up Orlando Brown Jr. for the foreseeable future. According to SpotRack, which you guys know is a Bible to me, his current market value is currently sitting at 5 years, $116.5 million, which is a little over $23 million per year. This is where I stand on this. I would give Orlando Brown Jr. every single penny of that, because Orlando Brown Jr. is worth every single penny of that. Trent Williams is widely considered the best left tackle in football, and at worst, top 3. Well, last season, Orlando Brown Jr. not only played 191 more snaps than Trent Williams, he only allowed 3 more sacks and had the exact same amount of penalties as Trent Williams had last season. And Trent Williams only gave up 1 sack and had 7 total penalties. I'll let you do the math. And this is considering the fact that not only did Brown Jr. go from one team to the next between 2020 and 2021, not only did he go from a run-heavy offense in Baltimore to a pass-heavy offense in Kansas City, but also went from primarily playing right tackle to now only playing left tackle and played at the level of the best. Not even 26 years old yet, Orlando Brown Jr. has yet to be viewed as a long-term. It has to be viewed as a long-term answer to ensure Patrick Mahomes' health and safety for years to come, especially when considering some of the recent moves within the AFC West alone. Speaking of some of those AFC West moves, just one day later after Orlando Brown Jr. had gotten his franchise tag, the Broncos made a big move, trading for the longtime Seahawks star quarterback Russell Wilson for 2 first-round picks, 2 second-round picks, 1 fifth-round pick, Noah Fant, Shelby Harris, and Drew Lock as a throw-in. And boy, did this send Chiefs fans into a panicking frenzy. But here I am to calm down the situation by providing some context. And Trevor, you know that I don't like to provide that. I like to, obviously ignore that. Yep. Here are the positives of the Broncos trading for Russell Wilson, because there are a lot of them. First of all, the negatives begin outside of Russell Wilson. I'm going to give those negatives in a second, but you're fooling yourself if you don't believe that a team that in Week 17 of just last season, who was in playoff contention with Drew Lock and Teddy Bridgewater as their quarterback, didn't dramatically and drastically get better, because they did. Russell Wilson, coming off the worst season of his career, and we'll talk about all the negatives in a second, but coming off the worst season of his career, still had 25 touchdowns and only 6 interceptions with a 103 quarterback rating. And going to a team now that was a team, again, that was that close to making the playoffs without a top 30 quarterback, you know that this team automatically becomes a playoff contender. We all know that Russell Wilson is still very much a top 10 quarterback. Maybe not a top 5 anymore. For the last 4 or 5 years, he's easily been a top 5 quarterback. There was a time where maybe he was the second best quarterback in football. But I think that time has come to a close. And Russell Wilson, although will be 34 in November, is still showing signs that he has maybe the best deep ball in football. And we know that in Denver with that thin air, that is perfect for what they do out there. Peyton Manning's career was extended because of that thin air up there in Broncos land, because we know that Peyton Manning's arm was never great, and as he got older, it only got worse and worse, and he still looked great almost till the end. This is going to benefit Russell Wilson. This is going to benefit the Broncos, because this is a recipe of, albeit desperation from both sides, but nevertheless is going to make a lot of sense for a team that is desperately trying to get back into the playoffs, because they haven't been in the playoffs in 7 seasons. And this is a good change of scenery for Russell Wilson. So again, I want to make sure and put that out there, that the Broncos are better today than they were without Russell Wilson, just by signing him. But here are some of the negatives. And again, they start outside of Russell Wilson. The Broncos hired Nathaniel Hackett to be their next head coach. He was the former Packers offensive coordinator who did not even call plays for the Packers. Furthermore, they had the 5th overall best defense last season, and that had a lot to do with Vic Fangio, who is no longer there. This, to me, reminds me so much. It sounds, looks, and feels a lot like the Chargers when they moved on from Anthony Lynn to Gus Bradley and brought in offensive-minded coach Brandon Staley to take over. Their offense was good, but their defense dropped 7 spots in scoring defense from one season to the next. Now, here's another few things I want to give out as examples when it comes to why I think there are a lot of negatives as well when it comes to a great quarterback moving on and how the success sometimes doesn't follow them. And here's a list of a couple guys. And some of them actually did work out, but I'm going to tell you why they worked out. The first one I want to give out as an example when it comes to Russell Wilson is Steve Young. The Bucs traded 26-year-old Steve Young to the 49ers in 1987. Young ended up playing 13 seasons in San Francisco, 8 as the starting quarterback, going 78-25 in the regular season, 8-6 in the playoffs, and won the Super Bowl in 1994. Brett Favre was traded from the Falcons at 23 years old to the Packers in 1992, one season after being drafted in the second round. He went 160-93 in the regular season, 12-10 in the playoffs, and won the Super Bowl in 1996 through 16 seasons. Joe Montana. The 49ers traded Joe Montana to the Chiefs in 1993. Montana was 37 years old, coming off 2 seasons where he missed all but 1 game due to injuries. It didn't stop the Chiefs from trading a first-round pick to the San Francisco 49ers for him, nevertheless. Went 17-8 in the regular season and 2-2 in the playoffs and never got to the Super Bowl. What about Warren Moon? Traded from the Oilers to the Vikings at 38 years old. They went 21-18 and 0-1 in the playoffs. How about Matt Stafford, my guy? Traded from the Lions to the Rams at 33 years old in 2021. So far has gone 12-5 in the regular season, 4-0 in the playoffs, and won the Super Bowl. Anyone notice a trend here? Outside of Matt Stafford, who finally got his chance to play with a great head coach and team this last season, the only trades on this list that ultimately panned out the way that teams that traded for these quarterbacks wanted it to were quarterbacks like Steve Young and Brett Favre who were either in their early or mid-20s. And none of these 5 quarterbacks had a division and conference as stacked as Russell Wilson now has in Denver. And look, Wilson began his career about as good as you can. In his first 8 playoff games, the Seahawks went 6-2 with 2 Super Bowl appearances. That's legendary. Since then, they went 3-5, 1-3 in their last 4 playoff appearances with 0 Super Bowl appearances. He's now with the Broncos, who not only have been to the playoffs, had not been to the playoffs since 2015, or when Peyton Manning retired, rather, but now have a rookie head coach that was an offensive coordinator that, again, did not call his own plays. I'm supposed to believe that Russell Wilson and the Broncos' 7-year stretch of playoff failures or failure to reach the playoffs at all are going to change for the better now that they're together. I'm supposed to believe that a soon-to-be 34-year-old quarterback who's 5'11", who's been sacked 476 times in his career, 427 of them in the regular season, which currently ranks 14th all time, and 49 of them are in the playoffs, which actually ranks 5th all time, makes this team a Super Bowl contender when he hasn't even played in a conference championship since he was 26 years old? I'm supposed to believe that with all this to consider, Russell Wilson is going to elevate the Broncos beyond the juggernaut Bills and the Kings of the Kingdom Chiefs, especially when their defense that many assumed would continue to be great are now going to lose key players to free agency and just fired their defensive-minded head coach, who is one of the best defensive minds in the league. That's not even mentioning the potential of what Justin Herbert and the Chargers could become, Joe Burrow and the Bengals, who literally just played in the Super Bowl, or Lamar Jackson and the Ravens, who were only down last season more than anybody else, suffered more injuries than any two teams, yet still had more wins at the end of the season than the Broncos. Russell Wilson's Broncos are a playoff contender, but they are not a Super Bowl contender. Then on Thursday, we learned that the Chargers traded a 2nd and 6th round pick to acquire former Raiders and Bears edge rusher Khalil Mack. And boy, did this move send Chiefs fans into a panicking frenzy. But here I am again. Trevor, you're Eddie, you guys are witnesses. I'm here to bring calm by providing even more context. First of all, I completely understand what the Chargers are attempting to do by acquiring Mack. He has had a handful of stellar seasons in the past, and actually, I looked this up, this is an incredible stat. He is the only player in NFL history to be named a first-team All-Pro at 2 different positions in the same season. It's phenomenal. That was 7 years ago. That was 2 teams ago. That was a different Khalil Mack ago. Khalil Mack is 31, and he's going to be 32 this year, and hasn't had double-digit sacks in 4 seasons. Not only that, Mack has missed 10 games last season with a foot injury. And as we have seen throughout the seasons, throughout the history of this league, players that rely on leverage and speed that deal with lower extremity injuries while in their 30s, it doesn't usually bode well for them and their teams. And the biggest problem with his injury concern is he's teaming up with another prolific pass rusher in Joey Bosa that, although is going to be only 27 years old this year in July, has missed his fair share of games in his career as well. Since his rookie season in 2016, Bosa has missed 17 games and has left several other games with injuries. Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack have missed a combined 28 games since only 2018. That's 7 games a season. So not only does this, their biggest acquisition, deal with the same issues their best defensive player currently deals with, he's also 4 years older and is coming off his worst season of his career. Not only that, the acquisition of Mack doesn't help the Chargers fix their biggest issue on defense. The Chargers finished 30th in rush defense last season. Mack is not a run stopper. Mack is a pass rusher. Adding more pass rush isn't going to change the glaring fact that the Chargers have a gaping hole in their defense. The way I see it, man, when it comes to Khalil Mack is more of a name than a football player at this point of his career. But sure, this move, along with the Broncos getting Russell Wilson, are all clear and precise decisions to take down the Chiefs. I get that. But as we all know, these teams have 15 other opponents besides the Chiefs to take down and take out. And if they're not fixing their biggest issue, how am I supposed to believe that they will tally up enough wins to do what they initially set out to do? Beating the Chiefs is one thing. Being better than the Chiefs is another. All this panic over a declining pass rusher joining a team that's 15 and 17 in their last 2 seasons with Justin Herbert and have Brandon Staley as their head coach is not worth panicking over. All this panic over Russell Wilson joining a team that hasn't been in the playoffs since the Obama administration, that fired a defensive-minded genius in Vic Fangio, that is now led by a rookie head coach that didn't even call plays at his former job, is not worth panicking over. the gap is closing in the AFC West. I heard this all week long. As soon as these acquisitions, these trades started to take place on radio, fans, Twitter, you name it. I was seeing it. People are freaking the fuck out. Maybe you guys can, debate me on this, but I'm pretty sure this is fact. The Chiefs currently have the best head coach, quarterback, tight end, and wide receiver group in the NFL, correct?
Correct.
Okay. The Chargers have yet to make the playoffs with Herbert, and Russell Wilson has 2 fewer playoff wins since 2016 than Nick Foles and Matt Stafford, who had 0 before this last season. I would get this fear of the Chiefs taking a backseat if Patrick Mahomes was no longer the best quarterback in the NFL. He was an aging quarterback, or they had an aging roster that lost their grip on the AFC West and the AFC last season, along with these moves made by the Broncos and Chargers. I would understand it. I'd be like, look, man, the Chiefs' time is over. None of that is true. None of that has happened. How many games, I want to go down history real quick with you guys. How many games the Chiefs have won the AFC West over the second place team during their six-year winning streak of the AFC West? In 2016, when Alex Smith was still here, the Chiefs only won that by a half game over the Raiders. That was a Raiders really good season. Derek Carr was an MVP candidate, all that. And Alex Smith's final season, they won it by 1 full game. The next season, Patrick Mahomes' first season over the Chargers, they won by only a half game. You guys remember the controversial win in overtime in Arrowhead. The Chargers went 12-4, Chiefs went 12-4, but they had a better conference and division record. The next 3 seasons, the Chiefs won the AFC West in 2019 by 5 games. 2020, they won it by 6 games. And then in 2021 last season, they won it by 2 games. Now, you look at that 2-game margin, you think, oh, they're catching up. In 2021, the Chiefs started out the season with a 3-4 record, and the Raiders won 10 games, who finished second. Yet the Chiefs still won the West comfortably by 2 games. 2 games in a division is comfortable. There was no race, and the Chiefs, again, started the first half of the season with a losing record. And the Raiders won 10 games. Think about how insane that is to think about. 10-game winning team, 3-4 team to start off. This team wins by 2 games. Since Mahomes' era began in 2018, the Chiefs have won the AFC West by an average of 3 games, and more particularly have won it by 5 games in Herbert's record-breaking rookie year, and won it by 2 games in his second season when Herbert's Chargers finished 3rd. The point I'm making is, just because the other AFC West teams are improving their rosters doesn't mean that they're surpassing the Chiefs, who they themselves, who will not only continue making their own upgrades, but the fact that they will still have clear advantages at key positions. The Chiefs have by far the best head coach in the division. The Chiefs have by far the best quarterback in the division. These are not debatable. They're not. The Chiefs have by far the best wide receiver tight end duo in the division. The Chiefs have the best offensive line in the division. These are cornerstones to success, and the Chiefs have the upper hand in all these areas. So although I do understand that it's worth paying attention to these recent acquisitions from the Broncos and Chargers, don't fool yourself into thinking that the Chiefs are going to stand still and not do anything while taking direct divisional competition seriously. Because they won't. They won't stand by. The Chiefs know better than even we do that there is a transcendentally great quarterback they have no intention of wasting. Getting back to the Super Bowl is their goal, and the first step in achieving said goal is to continue dominating the division they've won 6 straight seasons. So while others panic, I'm choosing to stay calm. Because the next 4 years, to me, look to be even greater than the last 4. And will it be easy? Fuck no. Nothing is when it comes to the NFL. But as long as Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, and Brett Veach are in Kansas City, guys, I will choose to believe that the Chiefs will always have the upper hand. Trevor, I want to start with you. Take this week back. Tell me what you think of these moves. How do you feel? Do you share similar sentiments, or do you feel differently than I do?
I'm neutral on the Broncos being called a contender. I'm not going to say they're not. I'm not going to say they are. I do think that's a massive upgrade at quarterback, not even just for what his skill set can bring for that offense and change, the culture over there offensively, but just his experience. He's a smart quarterback. Can make the deep throws. So it was tough beating the Broncos last year with whatever quarterback they had back there. Drew Lock almost beat us. We almost let that happen. And he ran 2 touchdowns on us. So that's that happened. So it is going to be that much tougher. The Chiefs are still the best team. I don't know who's debating that. The Chiefs are still definitely the best team in this division because the game's still got to be played. The players still got to go play and show that they're better than us at some point, but they're not. But we had to fight tooth and nail last season just to scrap by to win this division. It came down to the last games, right? And we were down, and there's no way we can go into a slump like we did last year and expect to make it out of that this year. It's going to be that much more competitive. So if we go into a slump, we're in a tough spot. Like if we do anything similar to last season. So, yeah, I mean, we've got to improve just as much as any of them did. I expect a lot of moves still to be made for the Chiefs, and we're being patient right now, which I like. Letting kind of things fall into place and get the best deal for certain players and certain positions, certain things we need. And we still have a draft, There's still a lot of things that can change dramatically and be like, oh, fuck, here goes the Chiefs. They just got Amari Cooper. Or, oh, fuck, here goes the Chiefs. They just got so-and-so, Bobby Wagner or whatever. So there's still a lot of things, a lot of names that can be rotated around in this league to drastically change everyone's perspective on this division. The Chiefs are still the best team in this division. The Chiefs are still the best team in the AFC. I mean, this is as competitive as it gets, man. This might be the most stacked AFC division I've seen in a long time, with the Bills still very much being the second best team in my mind. Who knows what the Titans are going to be? The Titans just were the 1 seed this offseason. No one even wants to talk about them. Granted, we know we don't believe in them in the postseason. That's still a tough team to beat. There's so much talent in the AFC. The Mac move, I think that's a great move for the Chargers. It's a lot of money to take on. It's still a lot of money on that contract.
$64 million.
Right, so that's kind of a... I don't know if I'm a GM, I wouldn't have made that movie even if I was the Chargers and you want to make, have that namesake kind of guy. Like you said, Khalil Mack's more of a name guy than he is in a dominant force in this league. But that's a good system. I think him alongside Bosa, as long as they can stay healthy, that is a deadly duo because we've seen, I believe Khalil Mack is the better player than Melvin Ingram. And Melvin Ingram and Joey Bosa were a dynamic duo for some years there. So I think that can be a deadly force there on the defensive end. Granted, that doesn't help them. That not help them getting after the quarterback better, but stopping the run up the gut and this lack of speed on the edges there, letting running backs run all over them is still gonna be a problem. It seems. But look, man, the Raiders are still gonna be back. They're gonna have moves to make. So this is gonna be a competitive division through and through, from start to finish. I think the Russell Wilson move is huge. I really do. I think that's a massive move for this division. It shakes this thing up. Just like I said, with his experience, and I think that they are, in my mind, I would lean more towards them being a contender than not. I'm talking Super Bowl contender because I love that defense, and I love Cortland Sutton, the receiver over there. I love Jerry Jeudy. I think Russ is going to unlock those guys. They've been held back by terrible quarterback play, and those guys are elite talents in my mind when healthy. Jerry Jeudy is one of the better young route runners and guy that he's still tops in the league at creating space. He's very good at that. That's deadly. You get a guy that can create space with Russell Wilson. That's deadly. And then you got a dominant, tall receiver like Cortland Sutton who can get up and get in, is great in the red zone. It's basically like his receivers in Seattle, with Tyler Lockett and DK, similar kind of dynamic type of players, similar skill sets, just going to Denver now with the tops defense now, backing them up in a fairly good offensive line. So that's a big change for Russ. It's going to be a big breath of fresh air for him. So he's excited. He's motivated. A motivated Russell Wilson that's been slacking a little bit. I think that's a scary sighting in this division. But this division goes through Patrick Mahomes, who's the best quarterback in this league. This division goes through Andy Reid, who is the best coach in this league right now. This division goes through Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce, two of the best, if not the best, skill position players within their position, arguably. So, yeah, man. There hasn't been too many moves outside of those ones in the AFC anyways that have made any big difference. The Bills are still second to me. The Bills are still our biggest threat in the AFC. So look, man, I'm not worried. I kind of stay out of the Twitter sphere loop. Like, I don't see a lot of the panic and stuff that you're talking about. I don't really see a lot of it. I can only go from my perspective, and I have to keep my perspective pure from what my thoughts are from the outlook of it all. But I'm not panicking. I still think we're the best. I still think we're going to go win this division. I really do. I think our home field advantage is better than anyone else's in this league. So when teams come play here, and I expect adjustments to be made. I don't think we're going to struggle like we did. I don't think we're going to go through the rough patch that we went through this past season. I think that's going to harshly be addressed. I think Patrick Mahomes is going to continue to evolve. I mean, like we've ad nauseum hit this point. Pat is still a young guy. Pat had so much success early on. There's going to be stumbling. There's going to be plateaus. There's going to be rough patches for him. He's still growing, and I expect him to get better this season, learn how to overcome those certain coverages, and just, and who knows what moves we're going to make. Like I said, you guys got to chill for a minute. the Chiefs are still going to make moves, right? We're still going to go acquire some talent offensively, defensively, and then this draft as well, get some young guys. So we are still the team everyone's looking up to, right? We're not on everyone's level. We're the top here. Everyone's still looking up as the Chiefs, the team to beat. That's why we're still the odds-on favorite to go win the Super Bowl, come out of the AFC. There's a reason for that, because we know we have that reputation, and I expect us to uphold that reputation heading into this next season.
Okay. The biggest point I would disagree with you, Lance, is the Chiefs winning the division last year comfortably. I don't think that was comfortable at all. Yeah, you can see it. You can go back and look at this at the record and say, two-game lead from second place in the AFC West.
It was tough.
That was a lot closer than what it seemed. The Chiefs started 3-4. Obviously, you started seeing a little bit of the struggles that the Chiefs were having last season, and you saw other teams starting to take advantage. So I'm not just going to discredit like the Broncos getting Russell Wilson or the Chargers getting Khalil Mack. These moves only prove that they're hunting the Chiefs. They're trying to take the king down in a way. So Russell Wilson going to the Broncos, or the Broncos getting Russell Wilson, that's a massive move, and it's something the Chiefs have to pay attention to defensive-wise. Why? Because we struggled last year against good quarterbacks. This defense was not great against a good quarterback, and Russell Wilson's a good quarterback. He can go out there and make plays like any other quarterback. So that's one big move the Chiefs defense has to pay attention to. Offensive-wise, Khalil Mack, it's a big name, like you said. It's a big name, but is the player still the same? So I understand where this concern is coming from. Seeing these moves early into right before free agency, and the Chiefs obviously staying put and having to deal with their own players still with their contract extensions or even re-signing players. So that's why I think a little Chiefs are not concerned, but they're just kind of like, come on, do something.
Yeah.
Like, we don't like staying put. So either extend Tyreek Hill, sign Tyron Matthew, and then little by little, let's do something. So it's a little I guess not overwhelming or anything. It's just kind of like, how can I describe it?
Exhausting.
Yeah, I guess you can say exhausting. It's not worrying or anything. It's just exhausting. It's just seeing other teams prepare before the league year even begins to take down the Chiefs, and the Chiefs obviously not doing anything. So
it's a lot of time left.
Yeah, I get it. It's a lot of time left. So I think that's why a lot of Chiefs are, like I said, seeing these moves early and before the league year begins. It's kind of like put a little bit of stress on fans, I guess you can say. But yeah, we can't. Well, I can't downplay those big upgrades for those teams. So obviously the Chiefs are still the best team in the AFC as a whole, not just the AFC West, but the AFC as a whole. The Broncos, depending on what Russell Wilson can bring to this team, they can contend for the division and can even contend in the playoffs. We don't know yet. We gotta see through this whole free agency. We gotta see off season up until we can see in what is that called? Training camp. Once training camp begins, and we can kind of get a better, clearer picture of what we can expect from these teams. But like I said, we cannot discredit these teams making these massive moves. I
want to start with a reaction I have with Trevor, and I want to get to what Eddie you just said, because you guys both made some very valid points. Something I will combat with when you talked about the current state of the roster for the Broncos, and you talked about how Russell's inheriting this really good defense. I have to reiterate the fact that losing Vic Fangio is a massive loss. It is.
Could be.
I think it's going to be, because Anthony Lynn and Gus Bradley moving on from the Chargers, who still had a very talented. You look at that Chargers defense last year; they were talented throughout, and they were still one of the bottom.
Yeah, but you're kind of leaving out some details there about injuries. They had Bosa in and out a lot of games.
Yes.
Derwin James wasn't available. I mean, those are two massive. That's
and those are two guys they're relying on heavily going into next season.
So they didn't just lose their coordinator; they lost players.
What I'm saying though is those guys are known to be injured, so I'm factoring that in for next season as well. And for the Broncos, they're going to lose Kyle Fuller to free agency, who was a key acquisition for them at the cornerback position. They're going to lose Chris Harris, who's not there anymore, and he's 33 years old anyway.
They could bring him back.
They could be back. He's been on the tail end anyway. He was good last season, not great.
Yeah.
So losing two very key facting veteran players to protect the pass game, which we know is important in this division with Patrick Mahomes and Justin Herbert on the other side, even Derek Carr, if you want to throw him in there, who's been a very solid quarterback in his career. So I get what you're saying. My point, though, is I think there's a lot of unknowns for the Broncos defense moving forward because now Nathaniel Hackett, a more offensive-minded head coach, without that Vic Fangio presence there, who is one of the best minds in defensive football outside of Bill Belichick, that's a massive loss to me, and I want to keep an eye on that. That's all I'm going to say about it. The Broncos could still have a very good defense. I can't imagine it's going to be the fifth best defense
I'm not
in
saying
the
it's
league.
going to be exactly what it was last year, but say they drop 5, 6, 7 spots.
Yeah.
I think the impact from Russell Wilson's impact on the offense is that much better, though.
And that's the second key I wanted to get to as well, is that you guys know that I believe that Russell Wilson, right now I have him about the 8th best quarterback.
He's seen the quarterback not go turn the ball over because that's all they were getting last year.
So he's going to make a dramatic change for this team.
Yeah.
He's going to make them a better team. We can all acknowledge that. But the problem is that we're looking on that from the optimistic standpoint. There is also the other side of this. Again, he's going to be 34 this year, which isn't old, but for an undersized quarterback, that is old. Second of all, he had a massive finger injury to his throwing hand, which is something that can linger. We've seen that throughout history. Other quarterbacks have hand injuries. Yes, that's another thing. The other part of this is the damage his body has taken throughout the years.
Sure.
He is the most sacked quarterback outside of Cam Newton in the last decade.
It's a much better offensive line over there. But
Cam Newton is like 7, 8 inches taller than Russell Wilson, about 40 pounds heavier, and his body broke down.
Well, a lot of his impacts were voluntary.
I'm just saying that a lot of Russell's taken a pounding in his career, almost 500 sacks in a 10-year span.
Yeah.
That's stupid.
Yeah.
So my point I'm trying to make is that we can't definitively say what we will be getting from Russell Wilson. I'm expecting him to be the guy of old, where he's throwing 4,300 yards, 30 touchdowns, 5 to 10 interceptions.
I'm excited about it.
Exactly.
This makes
intrigue.
Yeah,
There's more intrigue here. You know what I mean? It makes the Broncos better, therefore the Chiefs. And this is what I was going to say in just a second, but I can go ahead and throw it out there now to the fact you just said it. To me, this might be a blessing in disguise for the Chiefs.
Yeah.
Because now, the Chiefs, I don't think the Chiefs are ever going to just rest on their laurels and just sit here back and go, oh, we're good. But this now gives them that much more incentive to be as aggressive as Veach has always been on brand. Like that's his brand.
Yeah.
Is going out there, making moves, and knowing that, hey, listen, draft picks are nice, getting the future is nice, but let's go ahead and get out there and go get some guys that can help us day one. It's like the LeBron James effect where I want veterans. I want guys like even Patrick Mahomes has been saying that this offseason, according to reports, that he would rather see the Chiefs go out there and get a veteran wide receiver than go and draft a wide receiver if he had to make that choice. That's because he knows that a guy can step in here, learn the offense, and all of a sudden you got your guy for the next couple of years or just 1 year to help you elevate into another Super Bowl. So that's all I'm saying about the whole Broncos side of things. I think this team is exciting. Broncos fans should be excited, but I think there's a lot of questions on that team still, both offensively and defensively, because we don't know for sure what they're going to bring on either side of the table. That's why I'm saying with Russell Wilson, they are for sure a playoff contender. I think they are, because 1 week from the end of the season, they were in playoff hunt. They were in the playoff hunt before the Chiefs beat them.
Yeah.
That's what happened. Now with Russell Wilson, I think those chances go up substantially. Now on the Chargers side of things, I agree with what you guys are saying about how this team is talented as hell. Khalil Mack is going to help elevate their team to the next level. Justin Herbert, we're all expecting him to take the next step.
Their entire offense is back. Yeah.
Man, my whole hang-up, though, with them is still Brandon Staley. I said this last year, why I didn't pick the Chargers to go to the playoffs. Because I had no idea what the hell Brandon Staley was going to bring to the team. He was actually a defensive coordinator, came over here to the Chargers, and their defense got substantially worse.
Yeah.
Unless they're going to go and get a J.C. Jackson to help their secondary, which they very well could.
Yeah.
I don't know how this defense is going to just prolifically get better because, again, their biggest hang-up was what? They couldn't stop the run. Everybody ran all over them. People thought the Chiefs were giving up rushing yards. The Chargers were way worse than the Chiefs' defense was defensively. Or in the rushing defensive side of things. There was something else you said, Eddie, that I'm not remembering specifically, but the calm. The reason why I'm so adamant about the calm is because, of course, these teams are going to get better. They know they have to be.
There's no reason
to stay
panic.
relevant.
Yeah.
But again, even because you said last season about how the Chiefs. Oh, that's what it was. The Chiefs couldn't get to couldn't stop good quarterbacks. They were giving up 30 points a game or something like that to good top tier quarterbacks. I addressed that about the Josh Allen situation in the playoffs and how Joe Burrow, though wasn't great, was getting what he wanted in the AFC Championship a lot of times. Here's the reason why I'm confident, even with those things to be considered. is that while the Chargers and the Broncos get better at certain aspects, and they got better last season. The Chargers were a better team than they were the year before. The Broncos were a better team than they were the year before.
And it showed. We struggled against them.
And the whole comfortability thing, you got to think about this. There were still 2 weeks to go before the season was over last season, and the Chiefs already clinched the division. And the Raiders had everything to play for, obviously, because they had the play-in game with the Chargers. The Chargers had everything to play for still. The Steelers, who they beat that week to clinch the division, had everything to play for, because they obviously were a playoff team and they were still playing for the division at that point. Mm-hmm. The Bengals still hadn't clinched their division yet, and the Chiefs clinched their division with 2 weeks to go. So to me, just with all the stress and everything added in those first 10 to 12 weeks, to know the Chiefs clinched the division in week 16 tells me that's pretty comfortable considering how it was looking beforehand, because the first 7 weeks we're sitting here going, is this even a playoff team? For them to win it by multiple games with multiple weeks to go, to me tells me that even though the Chiefs had deficiencies, and they were clear and evident, they were obvious, the Chiefs still did what they did. And Herbert threw 5,000 yards last year, had a full slate and a stable of offensive playmakers across the board. And the Chiefs still, in their first matchup, lost by 6 with 4 turnovers, and 3 of them were in a row on like 5 plays.
Yeah, we can't do that again, though.
And I'm just saying, with the context added, the fact that the Chiefs should have swept the Chargers last year, and the Chargers, again, had a quarterback that was damn near all-pro. That's how good the Chiefs were despite their own deficiencies, and I have the faith and trust in Brett Veach that he's going to make adequate changes to those problems, because Frank Clark was a problem last season. He was not a solution. He hasn't been a solution since the 2019 playoffs. He's been a deterrent. And now they're going to take care of that. He will be getting cut. The Chiefs are going to make some acquisitions, whether it's a Chandler Jones or a Von Miller, getting Melvin Ingram back. You will see a veteran defensive pass rusher on this team this next season. They're going to get one of these top-tier wide receivers. I don't know which one it is yet. I'm hoping it's Amari Cooper, because he would elevate this offense to a level they've never been at before. I'm hoping that it could be an Allen Robinson or a Juju Smith-Schuster. DJ Shark would be a nice move. Russell Gage would be a nice move. There are guys out there, and the Chiefs are going to get at least one of them. And that's what I'm looking at, is that this offense still finished 3rd overall in overall offense last season with deficiencies at wide receiver 2. Didn't have a true run game. There's a lot of things that they could add to this offense that would substantially benefit them moving forward. And here's the other part that we don't talk about enough. This offensive line is going to be even better next season, because they all had a form over last offseason. None of them played together before that. None of them. Not Joe Tooney, not Creed Humphrey, not Trey Smith, not Orlando Brown Jr., and whoever they fill at right tackle. And they still were one of the best offensive lines in football. Now they get another offseason together. This offensive line is going to be absurd. And Patrick Mahomes' trust in these guys from one year to the next is going to be unprecedented. So I don't want to be the guy that just looks at the optimism, because you're right, Eddie. The things you brought up about the Chiefs struggling against good quarterbacks, that is 100% that's valid. But when you can look at those statistics and say the Chiefs still won their division by 2 freaking games, that tells you the greatness is already set in stone, to where they can say, okay, we already have the advantages, let's just build upon those. And that's what I look at with Russell Wilson. Everything's going to have to go right for the Broncos to win this division. Everything's going to have to go right for them to get into the playoffs and go to a deep playoff push. Everything's going to have to go right for the Chargers, because they had so many cornerstone pieces last year and couldn't even get in the playoffs.
Well, not only would everything have to go right for them, a lot of things have to go wrong for us.
Exactly.
Simultaneously.
Good
because
point.
if everything goes right for us and goes right for them, we're still going to be on top, because we're just the better team, plain and simple. So
and coaching matters, man.
Oh, yeah,
coaching matters. Look at the AFC West right now. Josh McDaniel is the second most tenured coach in the AFC West. He's 11-17 in his career.
Yeah.
Nathaniel Hackett, never even been an offensive coordinator that calls plays. And then you talk about Brandon Staley. Do you guys have faith in Brandon Staley, who's going for it on 4th down on his own 20-yard line? Like, that's absurd. Yeah. Shit like that happens. Like, Andy Reid makes his mistakes. But if you look at the AFC West, I mean, the Chiefs have maybe the 3 best head coaches on their own coaching staff. Think about that. Maybe 4. Like, Spags and Nagy would be automatically the second best head coaches in this division. And then you have Eric Bieniemy, who should be a head coach.
Yeah.
So you're looking at maybe the 4 best head coaches in the division are on one team. That's absurd to think, man. So there are just so many advantages on this team right now, but I do want to transition, because Eddie and we actually had a chat. We always talk throughout the week about, just things that we're thinking or feeling about the current up-to-date news and everything. And something that you said, Eddie, I brought up the fact that I think that Brett Veach is going to go off this offseason. I think he's going to have some great moves and great acquisitions. I'm still holding out hope that he's going to trade out of the 30th pick and go get maybe a Josh Allen from the Jacksonville Jaguars. There's a lot of things that I think he's going to do, and I think both his offense and defense are going to be improved to a point point where we're feeling really good about ourselves, and we look back at Khalil Mack and Russell Wilson acquisitions and go, oh, the Chiefs got this, man. Like, those are good moves. The Chiefs made some great moves. But, Eddie, you did make a statement. I don't want to put words in your mouth or not say it correctly, but you did state that you have a feeling, and correct me if I'm wrong, you have a feeling that Brett Veach might disappoint some of us this offseason. I want to know, first of all, what exactly you mean by that. What to you would be a disappointing offseason for Brett Veach?
A disappointing offseason is not making the moves everybody would like to see or expect the Chiefs to make. As in, like, getting that veteran quarterback. Missing out on the veteran quarterback. We saw it last year. They missed out on that veteran quarterback. Their only option was pretty much bringing Josh Gordon. So, kind of getting off of that, like piggybacking off of that, it's kind of like how good is Brett Veach how good has Brett Veach been with free agency? And I look back and I think it's like, well, hasn't been great. I wouldn't say he's been great with free agency. So I feel like this year, I like I said, it's just a feeling that I have. Obviously, we don't know what's going to happen. This is just me stating my opinion. But I just have a feeling where Brett Veach is going to try his best, but is going to miss out on a lot of big names out there that he could potentially get. And I believe they're going to rely heavily on the draft. That's something that they might choose to do if the one or two big names are gone from free agency, and obviously they didn't get them. So I think that's one of the things, and they're going to end up probably getting those old veteran free agents that are like just dirt cheap, those no-name kind of guys. So I don't know. It's just a feeling. Obviously, I don't know what Brett Veach is gonna do. But like I said, I haven't seen Brett Veach have a great free agency. It's something I'm yet to see. People can argue that for last year, but overall, Brett Veach has not been great in free agency. So we'll see what this year brings, and especially dealing with your own players with extensions and trying to re-sign one of your biggest captains in this team, in Tyron Matthew. So it's gonna be tough homework for Brett Veach, and like I said, that's what gives me that feeling of it's gonna be a like I said, disappointment,
a letdown.
Okay, that I appreciate that, honestly, man, because I know that, you know, I get called somebody that it's funny.
Homer.
Starting off, yeah, I get called a homer. It's funny because I was actually known as the guy that was the hater for the longest time. So I get these weird, like, extremes sometimes. I can't find that middle of the pendulum. But I just want to, like, go down a scenario path with you on this one real quick, and I want to get Trevor, your thoughts on what you're thinking. I want to know Trevor's disappointment, or what you would define as a disappointment this offseason in second. But I just directly want to ask you, Eddie. Let's say Amari Cooper is cut. Let's say Allen Robinson, Juju Smith-Schuster are all sitting out there, right? Chiefs don't get any of them, but they go and get like a Russell Gage, and they draft a wide receiver in like the second round. Would you say that's a disappointment, yes or no?
Yes, because we're expecting to have another big guy helping out for the Chiefs. Would it be a disappointment they perform? Obviously, I believe a disappointment would be him not being able to sign one of those three guys, because that's your top three targets.
Okay.
Because you need those to help your offense succeed. So missing out on those three big opportunities, it's a big disappointment for this offense.
Okay, that's totally fair. Now let's say the Chiefs don't get obviously like a Von Miller because he stays with the Rams, or Chandler Jones goes and gets paid somewhere else. Melvin Ingram doesn't end up coming back, but the Chiefs go and get Emmanuel Ogbah as their defensive edge rush, and then they draft a guy with 30th overall at edge as well and pair them together. Would that, to you, be a disappointment?
Not really.
Is that if we let Frank Clark walk?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So not really, because let's say we let Frank Clark walk and Tyron Matthew walk, or cut Frank Clark and obviously not sign Tyron Matthew, and then rely on the draft, and then sign like Ogbah and draft a pass rusher. I would consider it a disappointment overall, because you're missing out on Tyron Matthew as well. You're not just missing out on Frank Clark or anything.
But what if they were to have Tyron Matthew?
So if they were I wouldn't call it a disappointment, but it would be kind of like a, how would I say it? I guess expectation wise.
Underwhelming?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like, damn it, like, I wish we could, it's like, I can work with these guys, you know, like, I can work with these guys, but damn.
Yeah.
We missed a great opportunity out there.
Okay. The reason I asked that is because this is where I think the point is made about why I give Brett Veach the benefit of the doubt. So if you're stating that you would think it would be a disappointment if Russell Gage was the guy they signed in free agency and then they go and draft a guy and kind of develop him. Russell Gage last season had 66 receptions for 770 yards and 4 touchdowns, and that was as a wide receiver 2 and 3 throughout the season, right? Cordell Patterson and Calvin Ridley before Calvin Ridley went away.
Matt Ryan.
Yeah, exactly. With a struggling Matt Ryan with a bad team. Yeah. Still put up those decent numbers, which combat McCole Hardman. We all talked about McCole Hardman having a career year last year. And then Emmanuel Ogbah, he actually missed. He didn't start 6 games last season. He was active for all 17, but didn't start every single one of them, and ended up having 9 sacks last year. So the point I'm making is not to like dismantle what you're saying. What I'm saying is that that's actually the point I'm giving about why I'm so high on what Brett Veach can do, because even if those, and I'm not expecting those to be the answer, I think that they're going to do better in both of those areas. I don't think Emmanuel Ogbah is going to be the answer. I think the Chiefs are going to go and get a better pass rusher. I think Chandler Jones is very realistic for the Chiefs. I actually think Allen Robinson, Juju Smith-Schuster are more realistic than settling for a Russell Gage. But in your scenario, if those were to be the moves, and you're talking about Russell Gage having to bear the burden of being behind Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce, then I think the Chiefs did okay considering. Where that's your disappointing scenario, that's most teams' dream, to have those 3 paired together. And then you talk about Emmanuel Ogbah coming back to the Chiefs, who already is familiar with the Chiefs, getting paired up with Chris Jones and a young, motivated rookie on the front 7. What I'm saying is that that's the worst case scenario. Let's say that's the worst case scenario. That team is still a 13-14 win team. And that's, again, I'm not trying to poo-poo what you're saying. I'm saying that I believe that the standard is higher than that. The expectation is going to be higher than that. And I think the reality is going to be higher than that. That's all I'm trying to say, is that the lowest bar set is still a high bar nevertheless. So, Trevor, I want to ask you, like, what to you would be a disappointing season as well? Is it anything similar to what Eddie's saying? Because I actually agree with what Eddie's saying. To me, that'd be like, that wasn't that great. But I would still look at it and go, but goddamn, those are actually pretty solid moves. You would think about it. You know what I mean?
That scenario would definitely have left more to be desired.
Yeah.
But I feel like, I'm going to say it now, I think last season, Brett Veach actually killed, last offseason, Brett Veach actually killed it. I mean, he created one of the best, if not the best, went and drafted the best center in football.
Yeah.
Not just best rookie, the best center in football. And completely revamped with Joe Tooney and all these guys, and just absolutely put together one of the best offensive lines in football immediately on one offseason after having one of the worst. That's extremely impressive. And I expect the only way that this offseason now currently as is and what's happened and what hasn't happened yet so far is if we completely fall flat on the defensive side of the ball. We've got to make a lot of changes defensively. Frank Clark's got to be moved somehow, some way, be it trade or just cut straight up. Other names, other dynamic players got to be added to this defensive roster. We need that more than anything. If this offense barely changes, I'm fine. We're still a top 5 offense, top 4, top 3 offense at times in this league. This is still a very feared offense with the weapons we have in place right now. Even if we go get a Russell Gage or a DJ Shark, that would be an upgrade. Any kind of upgrade to this offense. Granted, I want to get one of the bigger names. That was my number one priority. I think in all of us.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was.
So we wanted that big sexy name. Amari Cooper, if he came to this offense, that's the only move I would need to know that Brett Veach made to make this this offseason a success, because that is huge. Adding that would completely put all this panic to rest. If we got Amari Cooper in this offense alongside Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill, I mean, that's all I would need to just call this a success, let alone what we do in the draft. But I think, I do think it would be upsetting to see the lack of defensive moves. That's what I really care about. I want the big splash wide receiver just for the sexiness and just for that much more. And if we find a way to bring Kareem Hunt back into this offense too, my goodness, this fan base would go nuts.
We're going to talk about that in a second.
There's gonna obviously there's parts of the fan base that would be upset about it. They can go kick rocks. I don't really care about them, but the ones that love and always stood by Kareem Hunt and the talents that he was and what we putting aside his young adolescent mistakes, I would welcome him back with open arms, and I would love to see that move happen. And I think that very well could be likely. But It's hard for this to for the only way this could be a letdown, like I said, is just completely whiff on the defensive side. Not go and get another veteran edge rusher. Chandler Jones is the guy I want personally, and then maybe trying to go after a Bobby Wagner, another experienced linebacker, Dante Hightower, who I've mentioned in our past show. We need to get another linebacker or a Justin Houston if that's a possibility. Someone like that would come in here and have that experience, but. I trust Brett Veach. I'm alongside you, Lance. I trust in the Veach season. So I think he's gonna find a way to if we can't keep Tyron, find a proper replacement. There are a lot of guys out there floating around right now that are talented guys. So I think he finds a way to keep Tyron here. But we do need to address the pass rush. We need to address the defensive line and the middle line and another middle linebacker, a linebacker of some sort. And who knows what we do with the cornerbacks, but like I said, man, I trust Brett Veach to make the proper moves for the glaring needs on this roster.
The only way I think that this is an ultimate disappointment when it comes to this offseason and Brett Veach and the standards that I have on him, and I think the standards he puts on himself, is if the Chiefs don't utilize the cap the way that I know they can.
Well, we all know Brett Veach he's gonna go after the guys he wants.
Right.
It does not matter. It doesn't matter how much money they're wanting the name. It doesn't matter. He's gonna want to try to go make some kind of offer to get them.
You guys gotta understand, this particular offseason benefits teams like the Chiefs more than any other team. Here's why. Okay, so according to Spot Rack and other cap geniuses, which I can't even begin to try to be like them, but according to what they say, so in 2023. The cap's going to go up 20% from 2022, right? Mm-hmm. And then in 2024, it's supposed to go up another 20%. So in the next two off seasons after this one, you're talking about a 40% growth in cap space, right? Okay, so obviously market demand is going to go up with that. So it's going to kind of balance itself out in a way. But for guys in particular like this offseason, it sits perfectly because Allen Robinson and Amari Cooper and Juju Smith-Schuster and DJ Shark and Russell Gage, these guys could have been free agents next offseason and just got themselves exponential amounts of money. But it's this particular offseason, which means what? Great teams like the Chiefs can get these guys on a one-year deal and then let them go and maximize their money elsewhere next offseason. See, the whole run it back thing is dead. We know that era is done. So what the Chiefs can do now is rent guys. Go and get a guy for a year. Go and get an Amari Cooper for a year and then let him go get his 5-year, $120 million contract with somebody else that's willing to overpay him. Probably a bad team, right? That's the kind of stuff that the Chiefs now get to exist in. Is that this offseason they get to exist in the reality of, let's short-term this. Let's just add a piece here and there, get ourselves another Super Bowl, and then deal with our guys that we're paying currently long-term.
Sign Amari to a one-year deal.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's why I think that this offseason will not be a disappointment because there's so much incentive for the Chiefs to do that, and there's even more incentive for these players to do the same thing because then they can go and maximize their money over the next two off seasons. And getting a Super Bowl tax attached to it, or at worst getting to the AFC Championship attached to that, is only going to substantiate their own money, their own contracts, their own guaranteed dollars, their own years of guaranteed money. And I think that's why the Chiefs sit so pretty. So I don't see a disappointing offseason at all. I think the only way they do it is if you see a DeMarcus Robinson return. If you see Byron Pringle being the premier asset they bring back for wide receiver. Those are failures. I hate to say, I'm not saying these guys are bad guys, but that would be a failure for that to be, well, we missed out on this guy, but we did bring a guy that knows the offense, has been here for the last 4 or 5 years.
Sammy Watkins.
I don't want that shit. Because like I said, the running back era is dead. You got to add new blood, better blood, more talented blood, more athletic blood to this offense. On the defensive side, we've talked about this, about how that has to be priority number one, pass rush, things of that nature. But I want to throw out some names here because I know you just mentioned a couple of them, Trevor, about key acquisitions that we may not see coming because I know that priority number one is pass rush, as we all talked about. I'd love to see Chandler Jones. I'd love to see a Von Miller, Melvin Ingram coming back. Yes, I'd love to see these guys added to the equation. I'd love to see the Chiefs trade for Josh Allen. But guys, what about Bobby Wagner? I know he doesn't add to the pass rush, but think about how great this guy is and what he's been doing. So I threw this out here on Twitter about why I think the Chiefs should really look at Bobby Wagner as an acquisition for this defense.
Fuck yes.
People automatically said, well, what about Nick Bolton? You want to have him as his progression. Okay, I'm going to break this down, okay, guys? So Nick Bolton and Anthony Hitchens played essentially almost the exact same amount last season, right? Okay, so in when it came to, I have the list right here. Okay, so Nick Bolton and Anthony Hitchens only had, 8 more snaps for Anthony Hitchens this last season than Nick Bolton. Yet Nick Bolton led all rookies in tackles.
He's the truth, man.
So Anthony Hitchens, who's a much lesser player than Bobby Wagner, didn't impede on Nick Bolton's rookie season. Why would Bobby Wagner impede on Nick Bolton's sophomore season? It wouldn't happen. And I just want to throw these numbers out here real quick. In 2018, Bobby Wagner allowed since 2018, Bobby Wagner has allowed only 6 passing touchdowns, because I know that we talk about Anthony Hitchens being horrible in coverage and the middle of the field's always wide open. Well, that's actually one of Bobby Wagner's strengths, okay? He only allowed 6 touchdowns over the last 4 seasons on 307 targets and allowed a career low in yards per completion last season, 8.4, average target of depth 3.9, and he actually had one of his highest quarterback hurries last season, totals amount. Wagner is also coming off a career high in single-season tackles with 170, along with 5 passes defended, 1 sack, 1 interception, and 3 tackles for loss. That's a middle linebacker, inside linebacker. The biggest pushback, again, is when it comes to his age and his contracts. People are like, somebody's going to have to pay all this money for him, and he's not a young player anymore. He will be 32 in June. Yet he's only missed 3 games since the 2015 season. So though he's not a young player, he is by no means a veteran that has a history of injuries. So the Chiefs are not going to have to worry about, he's only going to play like 8 or 9 games. They're going to pay him $13 to $15 million. That's the other part of it. Wagner has made nearly $85 million during his 10-year NFL career, so although money could very well be a motivating factor, he's made plenty, while adding another ring to his collection could also be the ultimate motivating factor to continue his career or maybe even finish his career. If I'm the Chiefs, guys, I am approaching Bobby Wagner to at least gauge his interest and see where he's at and what it would take to get him to Kansas City. If a short-term deal possibly maximizes the cap ascension, like I said, from 2023 and 2024, and that's his goal to maybe get one more big contract afterwards, then I think the Chiefs' chances of getting him actually piques the immediate interest, because Bobby Wagner only has made an average of 8.4 million per year. That's a lot for an inside linebacker. If I'm the Chiefs, this is what I'd offer him. Bobby, we're going to give you a base salary of 1 year, $9 million, added incentives that can get it to $13 million, which is what he made last season. So you're giving him basically next season, because he's going to hit all of his incentives. If you say you get 100 tackles, if you play X amount of snaps, if you play X amount of games, if you get us to the playoffs, you make another Pro Bowl. Oh, and by the way, guys, Bobby Wagner has been a first-team All-Pro 6 of the last 8 seasons. Yeah. So although Nick Bolton is the man, we all can clarify here, he is the guy, right?
You're leaving out my favorite narrative, though.
Go ahead.
If we do sign him, who knows Russell Wilson better than anybody?
Boom.
Who plays against him in practice every single day?
Great. I didn't even
That'd be
put that together.
Best chess piece to add to that mix, knowing Russell Wilson more than anybody, bro, is the middle linebacker that faces him and is eye to eye with him every practice. I'm just saying that would be the best chess move the Chiefs can make if we go get the guy that knows Russell Wilson, his antics,
add that veteran presence in the middle of the field,
his tendencies more than anybody, his weak points more than anybody would be.
And again, you're not spending a ton of money on him, because the market value right now is right around $8 to $10 million for Bobby Wagner. And again, if he wants to, one more year, okay, I just want 1 year with a great team, and then I'm going to go get a 3-year deal worth $40 million. All of a sudden, he's got himself another payday.
And not only that, he's signing to a team that would immediately be contending for another title.
Exactly the point. Yes,
it's a great spot for him.
Adding to a Hall of Fame career, 6 of his last 8 seasons as a first-team All-Pro.
And that's not play around either, because the Chargers have a lot more money to spend too, and they would very well. That would be a huge signing for them.
Bobby Wagner, he just makes so much sense for that defense.
Yeah, they need that. They need that middle linebacker, so that we need to make some moves. But granted, I like what the Chiefs are doing. I like that the Chiefs are being patient because we don't look desperate. A lot of the teams that are going out there and making these big signings are desperate teams that need those massive changes. Yeah. So you notice all the teams that are confident in who they have right now are kind of the teams being more patient right now with what they're moving, what they're letting go, what they're adding to their roster right now. So be patient. We're gonna be all right, man.
I want to add a couple more names here, and then we're gonna get to the Eddie Hour. Another name that has been in-house for the last 3 years that I think actually is a realistic comeback player is Tyron Matthew. So, Arrowhead Pride, one of the most well-connected to the Chiefs source out there, Tom Childs actually had an article that came out this morning that talked about why it's very likely that the Chiefs and Tyron Matthew figure this out. Ignore all the tweets. I don't care about Tyron Matthew tweeting like a 14-year-old. I don't care about that stuff. I'm talking about the brass tacks here. Yeah. So, according to what they've been hearing at the Combine, because everybody gossips and talks and things of that nature, talk about markets for certain players, certain positions. So, according to the Combine that we've seen, Eddie, we had some breaking news?
Not breaking news.
Possibly big news.
Possibly big news. The Dodgers have offered Freddie Freeman a multi-year contract. So,
Yeah, we might have to talk some MLB in a second. I want to get to that because I got some takes on that.
Yeesh.
But when it comes to Tyron Matthew, so the market right now for safeties and for veterans is not heavy. Everybody assumed that guys like Tyron Matthew were going to get like 16, 17 million. I did myself. But now it's looking like it would almost be a miracle if he gets double digits per year for his annual salary. So I think the lukewarm, like according to Tom Childs at Arrowhead Pride, it looks like it's going to be a very lukewarm market for safety, veteran free agent safeties, which means that these teams aren't going to be offering a ton of money. The Saints are cap struck. I know that's a team that people have automatically said he's going to go.
That's the only team that's really been.
But that's the problem. They don't really have the money to do it. Mm-hmm. Second of all, the teams that have the money already have their safeties locked up. Chargers, they have Derwin James. The Bengals have Jesse Bates. Seattle, exactly. Yeah. Jamal Adams.
The Saints did just restructure Kamara's contract.
Sure.
So they
have their own. Was it their own safety to worry about?
But they're not. They don't even have a quarterback. They're not
exactly.
a
The Saints
team.
have offensive problems they have to worry about. So my point, and what I'm trying to make it, my point is this: is that I think that Tyron Matthew is going to price himself out of his own market, and then he's going to come back and go, okay, how do we figure this out? And I think the Chiefs give him a 2-3 year deal worth like $30 million, $30 to $35 million, and he gets what he wants. The Chiefs gets what they wants because let's be honest, guys, no matter what you think or feel about the man, he wants to be here. I think the Chiefs really want to keep him for the right price, and I think that's why they've been confident in letting him go out there and test the market. And then you're getting everything in return that you wanted because this defense is better with him than without him. This team's chances are better with or without him. And he ain't going to go to the Jaguars and Jets, who do have the cap money that can overspend for him, but they're rebuilds. You think a 30-year-old safety is going to want to go to a team that's 2-3 years away at best? No, that's not happening. Unless money is everything to him. That's all he wants is just getting 16, 17 million a year.
He's a family-based guy. I don't think his woman, and I don't think that'd be a good move for his son.
Roots are planted here.
City for money. Yeah.
Roots are planted here in Kansas City. I really do think he's going to be back here in Kansas City. I could be wrong. But I do think that he's going to get back here. He's going to get himself $30-35 million over the next 2 to 3 years, and then it's just going to move on from the speculation.
I think it'll be more like I think if I'm the Chiefs, I'll kind of offer a 2-year with a 3rd-year option.
Yeah,
kind of like
even if he gets a 3-year deal, he'll probably only fulfill 2 of those.
Yeah,
that's kind of how it's going to go.
I do expect the Chiefs to go out there and offer him what they believe is right. Obviously, hopefully he doesn't see it like a disrespect or anything.
It's reality, buddy.
Yeah, exactly. His personality is pretty strong. So
yeah,
as long as the Chiefs don't do anything to like disrespect him or anything like that, kind of just be like, we'll give you $6 million a year or some shit like that.
Yeah.
No, the Chiefs have no reason to walk on eggshells.
Yeah. So Brad Veach has to go in there and with the. With the
intention?
With the intention of bringing him back. Not going in there. It's like, well, I mean, if you come back, we'll give you this. But if you don't, oh well. No, it's something Brett Veach's like, okay, we need you. We want you. How do we work this shit out?
Well, Brett Veach has made that clear from all of his pressers, man. You watch that. He's prioritized bringing Tyron back. It's really the ball's in Tyron's court, man.
Yeah, so that should be priority number 1 for the Chiefs. But I do expect Tyron Matthew to test. Obviously, he's testing the market. So I agree with you. I think he's gonna set himself a price tag a little too high for a lot of contenders to even consider it. So I think it's gonna give the Chiefs a perfect opportunity to go in there. It's like, okay, man, come back to us. We'll give you this much, and we're gonna contend for this championship next year. So I think Tyron Matthew is more about a legacy type of guy than money, because he's made it seem that way. Because obviously from Arizona to the Texans, I don't know what the fuck happened there, but from the Texans to the Chiefs, coming and becoming a contender, becoming that guy, I feel like he likes that and appreciates that more. Like, he feeds off of that, being that guy, and like legacy wise.
And think about, man, talk about legacy, and the Chiefs saved his career. We brought him out of the Texans, bro, and he came over here and won his Super Bowl. Like, we made his career that much more of a legacy and added to the lore of Tyron Matthew, who was already a a polarizing guy in the league. We gave him a ring, man.
The Chiefs put him that much closer to the Hall
he
of
contributed to that.
And on the flip side, because on the flip side, Tyron brought a culture here on the defensive side we have not had in a couple of decades.
For sure.
So I couldn't thank him enough for what he brought to this team, and I really do hope that it continues because I know, again, pass rush is the key, so we obviously got to focus on that more than number one. So I know the last two names that has dropped have nothing to do with the pass rush, really.
Right.
But these are guys, like you said, Trevor, Bobby Wagner, who can give us all the cliff notes on Russell Wilson, who's been his teammate his entire career.
Yep.
And then you have Tyron Matthew, who knows this defense, is the leader of this defense, because it's only going to put more pressure on Steve Spagnuolo if you lose Tyron Matthew. Because then you have to fill that role, not just from an athletic standpoint, from a leadership standpoint. Like, you don't just replace that guy. Yeah. And unlike Russell Wilson, who you didn't hear shit from anybody about his offensive players. No one's talking about, man, I'm going to miss Russ. Oh, my God, this sucks. You don't hear that, which is ironic. It's kind of funny how that works. But you're hearing people reporting saying that the Chiefs are really hopeful that he's back, that Tyron Matthew's back. Yeah. Because these players want him back.
Of course.
I don't give a shit about what he says on Twitter. It's annoying. I get it. But what happens on that field is what matters. Yeah. And he is still one of the best safeties in this game.
He was just voted the MVP of the team.
Yes, one of the most versatile defenders in this league. You got to bring him back, and I hope that the Chiefs do it. And it'd be awesome to see him get a team-friendly deal and him still make enough money to where it makes sense for him and his family to stay here in Kansas City. The last piece I want to add to this equation, and it's been something that I've wanted to see now since the separation ensued, but there's actual real traction to this time around, and I'm really hoping that something comes of it. So, we had heard news from the Browns that their backup running back, Dearness Johnson, was going to get the tender. What that basically means is that Dearness Johnson, being a restricted free agent, he can shop his services to any other team, but Cleveland has a right to match that offer, and if they don't, they would receive compensation if he ends up going elsewhere. More than likely, Dearness Johnson will be back with the Browns because of that fact, because no one's gonna be offering a ton for Dearness Johnson, who's a backup running back, a good running back, but he's a backup running back, and in this league, that just doesn't happen very often, where teams are outbidding each other for a guy. Nick Chubb is clearly the guy there, which leaves one name out, and that's Kareem Hunt. Kareem Hunt is set to make a little over $6 million this year and has no dead cap money, which means the Browns can just get out of it. They can just outright cut him and lose no money because of it, or very little money. I think it's time that the Chiefs bring him home. I really do believe this. Kareem Hunt is currently, as we're talking now, he's been out in Hawaii with Patrick Mahomes because Patrick Mahomes just got married. Getting married. Yeah, he's getting married.
Still a chance.
But he's been out there. He's been out there with his old teammates. According to what I've been being told, him and Kareem Hunt and Andy Reid have actually been talking a lot at the wedding situation they got going out there.
Yeah.
It makes so much sense.
The prodigal son.
For the Chiefs to do this for a lot of reasons. One, Kareem Hunt's not going to cost them really anything. He's going to have low demand, high incentive, and he's only 27 years old. If you guys remember, man, what 2018 looked like with Kareem Hunt in this offense, I mean, guys, through 10 weeks, the man had 14 touchdowns. Think about that. Insane. He already had over 1,000 all-purpose yards and 14 touchdowns through 10 weeks. I don't expect Kareem Hunt to even be that guy. I don't expect that guy to be back because that was just 23-year-old Kareem Hunt.
Clyde, bro.
But you add him to this offense.
Shit. Yeah.
I know people. Listen, I'm going to clarify something real quick, and it's outside of the football realm. I know, and I understand, and I really do understand why some people don't like the idea of him bringing him back because of the fact of what took place at that hotel back in Ohio before the Chiefs ultimately cut him. I get it. But again, I will reemphasize this fact. The Chiefs didn't cut him for what happened in the video. They cut him because he lied about what happened in the video. Let's make that the point number one. Second of all, unless Kareem Hunt or any other player, just like Deshaun Watson, who we'll talk about, I'm sure, in the Eddie Hour, because of the fact that these men are free men and are free to work, if they're allowed to be in the league, if they are there and they're not in prison, They should be allowed to go wherever they want. And if a team thinks they're good enough to add them, that is their right. I don't think that it's wrong of a team to add a player if he even has a past, because we've seen players throughout history in all leagues and all aspects of life have pasts and work through them and get better as human beings, as athletes, as a whole.
And which coach has been a guy significantly known for doing that
would
giving
be Eddie
guys
Reed.
second chances.
And again, Eddie, we talked about this before the show. Who were the people that did not close the door of a potential Kareem Hunt return in the future when they cut him? It was Brett Veach and it was Andy Reid. I'm not saying this move's going to happen. What I'm saying is that I hope it does, because the Kareem redemption story would be so awesome. And he would make this offense that much better because he fit it seamlessly, and he's still young enough to give this team something they have been missing out of the backfield since he left, which is a legitimate threat in both the pass and run game in one singular player. I hope it happens. I'm really rooting for Kareem Hunt, regardless if he comes back to Kansas City or not, because I want to see his story to continue to ascend and him as a person to continue to ascend, and I hope it comes back here. I know his family's in support of him coming back to Kansas City. I know he never wanted to leave Kansas City. I know the Chiefs never wanted to part ways with him. It was an ugly situation. That's the past. It was 4 years ago. I hope they can bring this all back together. That's the one run it back. That's the one run it back I want to see take place.
Yeah, I know. Said Bieniemy would be happy to have that stud back, man. I know that's for sure. So.
Yeah, I'm hoping it happens, man. Those are just a couple, because this is the off season, man. Our wants, our desires, our needs of what we want to see this Chiefs teams do is going to change week to week. I know we already put out our top 5 list. I mean, my list is all over the place right now because I could not want Bobby Wagner and Kareem Hunt more than I do right now. Now, unlike Bobby Wagner, Kareem Hunt is still technically on contract. But it does look like the Browns are probably going to make that decision to save some money and get out of that and focus on Nick Chubb and Dearness Johnson being their stable. We'll see what happens. But in the meantime, we're going to leave those conversations right there. We'd love to hear from you guys. If there's any comments on the thread, we'd love to hear from you guys. Let us know what you guys think. We'd love to hit us up on YouTube. Let us know what you guys think about whatever we're talking about today. If you have your own thoughts, I know we don't do the Monday mailbag anymore, but that's why we have the live stream, so you guys can chat with us and we can react to whatever it is you're saying. But in the meantime, Mr. Eddie Ortiz, Mr. Yo, what is in the Eddie Hour this week?
Ooh. What do you want to start? You want to start MLB?
Let's do it. Let's get right to it.
All right. So the Dodgers reportedly have offered Freddie Freeman a multi-year contract. What could he bring to the Dodgers if they do sign him?
Former MVP, a World Series MVP, and a future Hall of Fame player that's still very good. I think Freddie Freeman, if I'm not mistaken, is only 32? I think it's 32. Let me look that up. Okay. He'll be 33 this season. And if we know anything about baseball players, you stay healthy, you play well throughout your prime years, you usually have a long career left. I can see Freddie Freeman being one of those guys that has another 4 or 5 years of really good baseball left in him, because he's primarily stayed healthy. He's had some injury concerns, this and that, but this man's made a ton of money. He's now won a World Series. I think the World Series is what's motivating him, which is why I think it'd make all the sense in the world for him to go to the Dodgers, because the Dodgers are still one of the most formidable, respected, and most talented teams in all of baseball. I think it'd be perfect for him to ride off into the sunset on the West Coast. He's earned that, man. He's carried some bad Braves teams over the last few years, and then they finally got good. And then they win the damn World Series without their best player, Ronald Acuna Jr. I mean, my God, man. So, but on the flip side, if Freddie Freeman was to decide to stay with Atlanta, it would make all the sense in the world, too, because they just won the World Series, and they have one of the best offenses, one of the best teams in baseball, good pitching staff. Ronald Acuna will be back next season. I expect him to tear the cover off the ball. He's a damn good fielder as well. I think he's got some options here, man. But I'm kind of like, okay, he did what he set out to do with Atlanta. Won him a World Series. Congratulations. That's awesome. Now go to LA and go try to get yourself another one. I'm rooting for him to do that. I just kind of want to see that happen, because stars on the West Coast, stars on the East Coast, it's always a good thing to see. I'm hoping that he makes that decision, gets himself another lucrative deal, and gets himself possibly another ring.
I mean, it is a surprise that LA's out here trying to poach great players. That's definitely caught me off guard. No, I mean, bro, if he goes to LA, that's just another. LA's going to try to go get another chip. Obviously, that would be the icing on the cake for that roster that's already extremely talented, man. But like you said, if he stays too with Atlanta, that's a great team that could very well run it back and have a good shot at doing it again. They're still a very talented team as well. I mean, the game of baseball has got to get started before moves can be made. But I mean, yeah, that's
well, it's officially back April 7th.
Yes.
We'll see how things go from there to there, but they did agree on a lot of things, which is great because the universal DH is going to be implemented.
That's cool.
Which I'm excited as hell about.
Yeah. Because
then maybe Poppy can come and join the Florida the Marlins. Like, hey, I'm out here in Florida. What's up, man? I can play play DH for an NL team now. 43 years old. Fuck it, let's do it.
But yeah, not much more to add to that. I mean, if that happens, that would obviously be a juggernaut move for the Dodgers, and they would immediately be the favorites to win it all. I mean, that's still an extremely talented roster in every position. So, yeah, I mean, that would be a blockbuster move for sure.
All right. Well, obviously MLB's back April. Was it April 7th?
April 7th, yep.
With a full schedule, I believe they said a whole 162 games are still.
That is the plan.
Yep. So I want to get your thoughts on that. But here are the biggest rule changes with this new agreement, and I'll read them out to you so you can kind of get an idea of what's to come this season. So it's a 12-team expanded postseason. Universal DH, 9-inning doubleheaders, no runners on second base to start extra innings.
Thank God.
Draft lottery for top 6 picks, a 45-day window for new rule changes starting in 2023. Pitch clock ban on shifts, larger bases can't happen until 2023 season. Players can't be optioned to minor leagues more than 5 times in a season. And then the last one, measures aimed at limiting service time manipulation.
Yeah. The only one of those that I really just absolutely hate is banning the shift. I get it that people don't like the shift. I understand that. You know what else people don't like? Cover 2 defenses in the NFL. But you know what they do? They work.
Be better.
And teams have to adjust. Hello, Chiefs. They had to do it. Right? I hate the fact that they're banning the shift. That is such bullshit, man.
Zag, man.
That's such bullshit. Yeah. I mean, look, man, it doesn't look great. It doesn't look great being like you have your fucking third baseman at second base. I know that sucks and it's ugly and it looks bad. It makes sense when you have dead pull hitters on the left side. Y'all remember Jason Giambi? Y'all remember David Ortiz? Those dudes just pulled every single time. So when they're not getting elevation on the ball and it's going to be a sharp grounder, you want to have as many defenders on that right side of the field as possible.
It feels like when the NBA used to ban the zone defense. Remember? Zone defense? Yeah, it was so stupid. Like, what?
Why would you ban something that gives an advantage because it helps the defense for once.
Illegal defense.
God forbid. God forbid the defense can have maybe an advantage at
They're
one
playing
time.
good defense. Like,
I mean, my God, man. I understand. The other ones I'm in pretty much support. I love the universal DH. I love the pitch clocks. I love that stuff because, again, you're talking about a different generation of fans and you're trying to entice more people, man, because your base is getting older. The average age of people that watch baseball in their late 30s. Mm-hmm. That is unlike anything else. In the NFL, the average age is 19, 20, 22 years old. That's what you want, is to have the next generation of people watching your sport. Yeah. And second of all, they got to learn more than anything how to fucking market their superstars.
That's the biggest thing.
If Mike Trout walked around with the legends in Kansas City,
no one would know
no one would know who the fuck he is.
Yep.
But if you go and get LeBron James, I get it, he's 6'8", and so you're probably gonna be like, that's LeBron James. Holy shit! I get it. My point though is, you just saw his face, you know who he was.
Yeah,
if you saw Patrick Mahomes, you know who he was.
Steph Curry, yeah.
You see Mike Trout, the best player in baseball. Who the fuck's this white guy standing next to me? Hey man, I was in line first. You know, that's what you would do. You wouldn't be asked for the autograph, you tell him to take a spot. Yeah. That's the point, man. Baseball's got to get better at this. I saw a picture of when the Players Association and the MLB were meeting last week. They had a picture of like the 11, 12 players that were there to represent with Tony Clark, the head of the MLBPA, the Players Association president, and myself. I couldn't name half the guys. Yeah. And I was ashamed. I'm a baseball fan, and I was looking at it going, who the fuck is that?
And that's not fair to the players, man.
Who the shit is that guy?
Yeah.
Are you white? I can't even tell who this guy is. You know what I mean? Like, it looks like David Arquette. Like, who is this? Like, I couldn't tell who these people were, dude.
That's not fair to the players.
I saw Max Scherzer in the background looking pissed off as usual, but it was upsetting me as a baseball fan that I couldn't name some of these guys. Yeah. That's ridiculous. A sport that shows their face, that you see 162 times a season. That's their biggest hang-up, but I am glad baseball's coming back. I know Jeff Passan's glad that baseball's back, because holy shit, he got hacked on the day that the announcement came out, by the way, on Twitter. So Jeff Passan held an L this week.
Well,
We got baseball back, which is important, and there's progression being made, which is the key asset to all this.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have much more to add to that. Shortening the game with the 9-inning doubleheaders is cool, too. I like that. Some of these games are going on for far too long. There's like 4 or 5 hour games at times, man. That's just... outside
does that mean?
Outside of being
I'm
there...
not a baseball guy. What's a 9-inning doubleheader? What does that mean?
So doubleheader is when you play 2 games in one day.
Oh, gotcha.
So it shortens so say both those games go into extra innings, you can't do that. It's 9. It stops at 9 innings.
Yep.
I like that. That's a cool rule. I like that they added that because
So-
that's not only good for the player's health. It's just good for the game, man.
So they're gonna start adding ties. Is that
There's probably going to be some more ties, but I mean,
Well, they
honestly,
don't have ties in baseball, but the back-to-back doubleheader
Yeah.
thing is what's going to keep that from happening to where they
Right.
don't have ties. You don't have these games that go into the 19th fucking inning. You know what I mean? They're going to have cutoffs. I think do the rule thing again. Show me the rule
that's
thing
what it
again
said.
about
The
the doubleheaders.
9-inning doubleheaders is what it says.
9-inning doubleheaders.
Yeah. So doubleheaders will have 9 innings. They're not going to do like these extended games. I think that
Yeah.
But what if they go into the 9th going 1-1? What the fuck's gonna happen? If there's
That's a
no
good
tie?
question.
Yeah, I don't know.
So they're gonna start tying now.
They might have added.
I really
ties.
hope they don't add ties to baseball. That's just gonna be like
so many
MLS.
games too. That's going to be tough to like start mixing in ties.
I'll have to
into
Google that.
Yeah, I don't know. That
Once we get to the next question, I'll Google it.
shortening the game of baseball and making it more of an efficient, tight game would only be better for the sport because attention spans has continued to drop. Man.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, extra innings is.
The DH thing is cool for sure.
They should, to finish the game, they should have like a home run derby at the end. Just
Sudden death, like
like a 10-second. Whoever gets the most
it's like
home runs in
PKs.
10 seconds.
Yeah, it's like PKs.
Yeah, that, something like that.
One of the rules for the pitch clock, what I really liked was I think it was you get 17 seconds if there's nobody on base. And if there is somebody on base, I think you get 19 seconds, which is perfect because if they don't put those pitch clocks on there, dudes are just going to stare the guy on first base down and they just keep chucking it over there, chucking it over there, chucking it over there, and the game just gets delayed.
It's like one of those gifts that keeps replaying. And
yes,
it like goes on
baseball's
forever.
baseball's already a slow sport as it is.
Yeah.
Even back when I was like playing baseball, I used to think that I'm like, God damn, can we just move on with this shit? Like sometimes there's just too much strategy. That's why games like Risk are only played by people that are absolute brainiacs because people just get sick of it after a while. That's what baseball has become, and I'm glad that baseball is moving in the right direction.
And the marketability, like you said, marketability is the biggest downfall of the sport. They refuse to market their players, and there's so many great personalities in baseball, dude. Some of the best in sports.
Like the fact that Fernando Tatis is not like one of the biggest premier stars in American sports
many good
is a
personalities.
crime against humanity. Because that dude is fucking awesome.
Bryce Harper's trying.
Everything about him's
be a
cool.
guy, but,
Okay, so according to this article, it said traditionally doubleheaders would be 2 9-inning games, but in 2021 they were 7.
Okay.
So they're bringing back the 9-inning game.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
I got you.
So they're still going to
so they were only 7 before, so they were even shorter.
Well, just last year.
Yeah, I just got a text from Shaggy Shane. He just said the same thing. That he just confirmed that
Shows
too.
how much I know about baseball, but yeah.
That's what I was trying to figure out what you were exactly saying.
not-
Well, that's how it should be. So
I'm guessing they're going back to 9.
Okay, good.
9-inning games, and then obviously extra bases can go.
I don't
up to
watch until
20.
the postseason, so that's.
It's not
I'm being
perfect,
honest, unless
but
it's the Royals.
good business is when both sides compromise, man. We all know that. That's so this is good business. It's not perfect, but we're getting back.
All right. Let's see. Which one do I want to ask you next? All right, let's get UFC. UFC 272. We saw Jorge Masvidal against Colby Covington. Reactions.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was watching the fight again. I apologize. I dozed off. I told you guys this is how it was going to go.
It was bad.
Masvidal's been done, man. He's been done for a long time. And Covington is a really good fighter. I can't stand the motherfucker. But he's really good, and he just outclassed Masvidal in every way. He outstruck him. He controlled the fight. He took him down like 8 times. It was just an absolute domination, and I felt the UFC card was just bad in itself. Like, there was a couple good fights. When Holland knocked out, I forgot the fighter he fought. He was a legend. I feel like an idiot. But Holland knocked out a guy, TKO'd him. In the second round, I forget, was getting choked out at the end of the first, was putting up the thumbs. That was a very entertaining fight. Oliveira, thank you. Oliveira, he beat Oliveira, and that was a good even fight in that first round. Yeah,
because Oliveira's a stud.
Holland, he's a legend in the making.
I
bro.
like this kid a lot.
He was like, I'm good. Next round, beat the shit out of him. So like, there were some good fights in the middle of the card, but that being the main event was just criminal, man. I hated that card so much in regards to the build up for that fight because it was a joke of a fight. Masvidal just obviously got himself a nice little payday on that one. There was a fake beef between them. I guarantee him and Covington are still boys.
Yeah.
It's just a joke.
It was
the
bad.
the next couple cards are gonna be a lot better. My boy Chimaev's gonna be fighting in April, which I cannot wait for.
Yep.
The zombies coming back, the Korean zombies coming back. He's fighting the champion. I forget his name, but he's gonna be back.
Volkanovski. So
Thank you. Yes.
UFC 273 will be the Korean zombie against Volkanovski. They have Sterling against Peter Yan.
Mm-hmm. My boy Chimaev, baby. I think he's fighting Gilbert Burns.
And
that's a good fight, man.
I think he's fighting Gilbert Burns, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Who, Peter Yan?
No, Chimaev. That's like the fourth fight.
Is that on that card? Or is that
it's on that card.
The next
it's
card?
on that card.
Are you sure?
Yeah. It's April 9th, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm not sure.
I don't see his name.
Chimaev.
But
yeah, I don't know. Not on here.
that might be the card after this next one.
Yeah, Chimaev versus Burns is
Saturday.
273.
Or is that this Saturday?
No, it's 273 is
I don't fucking see his name.
April 9th.
Yeah, I don't see his name.
Yeah, he's on the card.
Oh yeah, he's the first fight.
On the main card.
No, he's the first fight of the event.
Okay.
Well, prelims of the prelims.
Chimaev versus Gilbert Burns is the first of the prelims?
Yeah.
Well, I'll be watching that one.
Well, regardless, my boy Chimaev is 10-0 going against a very good fighter in Gilbert Burns, and he's going to whoop that ass.
Yeah.
And that's gonna be a card I'm
Burns
very
is a
much
fighter,
looking
though,
for.
man.
Yeah,
Don't-
Burns is
don't-
a damn good
don't-
fighter.
Shit,
Yeah.
Kelvin Gastelum is fighting Imavov. So
That's a
That's gonna be a
that's
damn
gonna be
good card, man.
That's gonna be a good fight.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Colby threw, Jorge around like a rag Masvidal, you know what I mean? So it was bad, man. It was rough to watch. But
I
yeah.
ain't even gonna lie, he caught him though. He fucking caught him.
He should have
Jorge
capitalized.
caught him.
But he has no stamina, bro. His stamina's trash.
he did get him.
fucking
His
caught him.
stamina
But then you
was
see
trash.
Muscle was walking towards him.
Yeah, dude. Like he let me down. He let me down, man. I was going for my boy. He's got to hang him up.
It's time.
Yeah, it's bad.
He said he'll be back too.
Yeah, next time I hope he fights like, freaking Matt Serra coming out of retirement or something, because he ain't fighting anybody worth note anymore. They're all just gonna whoop that ass.
Yeah, he's done. His endurance was just non-existent. Every time he got pinned up against the cage or on the floor, he just couldn't move. He couldn't budge. Like it was just all he had was a chance. Only chance he had was the standing game. Maybe catching him, and he caught him once in that really good one, but he didn't capitalize because he didn't have the gas.
Right.
The Oliveira fight was my favorite fight of the night. That was a fun one. Holland, man, I gained even more respect. I've watched him fight a couple times before. He wasn't fighting big names. That was by far probably his biggest fight of his career so far. So that was impressive. I love his personality. That's one thing I will say that the MLB doesn't do that the UFC is great at is capitalizing on personalities of their fighters. And it's fun to watch these guys grow. And I'm excited to see what Holland can become in this league. He could definitely become one of those like notable guys, personality-wise, and prize fights and things like that. So it was a good card overall. The main event was one of the worst fights of the night, unfortunately. But glad I didn't pay for it. That's all.
Yeah, I didn't pay for it. All right. Coach Popp is now the record holder for most wins in NBA history. Thoughts on that?
Yeah, he also has the most 50-win seasons. He's won 5 NBA championships. He's been to, I believe, 7, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah.
He's only had like 3 or 4 losing seasons. Not even, how many losing seasons did he have?
2.
That's
one was,
insane,
I believe,
bro.
last year and the year before that. I think they were like back-to-back.
and
But that
it's
was
in
like year
transition.
27 and
Yeah.
28 as a head coach. And
Yeah.
he obviously hasn't had the superstars that he once had. It's hard to market in San Antonio. So you get what you get, man. And I think that obviously he's at the tail end of his career, 73 years old. But I will say this, man. For the longest time, I have felt that Greg Popovich has been the best head coach in NBA history. Maybe not the most successful, but I think the best.
Yeah.
Because of what he was able to do for as long as
Draft.
he did it. For as long as he did it. To be able to get a superstar like Tim Duncan to humble himself into becoming a guy that went from being a role player in his first season with David Robinson being his team and winning a title that way, to then winning 3 more as the best player, and then ended up becoming a role player again in his final championship.
When he did it,
to be able to get a superstar player to do that,
Right.
with Manu Ginobili there, with Tony Parker there, with Kawhi Leonard there, with Michael Finley, with Bradley Avery. I'm sorry.
Avery Bradley? No,
Avery Bradley is a Bradley Avery with Avery Bradley there with all Del Negro, like all these guys throughout the years, man, to culminate them and take on dynasties and beat those dynasties like the early Shaq years and Shaq and Kobe years of the Lakers, like LeBron and the Heat beating them in the finals. Like, to be able to take on dynasties and still win titles throughout time and be competitive throughout time, that is a representation of Popovich. Not even to mention what he did with the U.S. Olympics teams. When they were on the down and outs this last time around, people thought, oh, this team is not as talented. They weren't. They clearly weren't. They were relying on guys like Damian Lillard who haven't won anything in their careers, Jason Tatum and young guys like that, and they go out there and win the gold. And he was the one coaching that team. He was there on that team. So I'm going to give Greg Popovich a ton of respect for this one, man. He's earned this right. Passing Lenny Wilkins, passing Donnie Nelson, passing Archibald, passing all the greats, and doing what he's done as consistently as he has done it. He deserves all the praise. He won't receive any of it. Doesn't like talking about himself.
I love that
doesn't like getting
man.
patted on the
So
he's a military man. You know, he doesn't like getting glory, but he's getting it anyway, man, because I think he's the greatest coach to ever coach in the NBA. He'll never be looked at that way, but I think he is.
Yeah, I mean, he's one chip short of what people call the greatest, you know, but I think he is the greatest as well. This accomplishment is the longevity of what he did with that trio, man, with Ginobili, Parker, and Duncan. As long as he kept them together, and the success that they had was unmatched. I mean, I know you had Scotty and Michael. That was probably the closest duo, but this is a trio. Keeping a trio of guys like that together that long and having the success year in, year out, winning 5 titles, man, that was. And the fact, the way he did it so uniquely with foreign players. You know, guys from different countries, not American-made guys. He won it in a very unique way and brought in guys that changed position. Like Manu Ginobili changed the NBA in a lot of ways. He created a lot of the Euro step stuff and it brought a lot of that style to the game. And a lot of players, modern players, will credit Manu Ginobili for that. And he saw those things ahead of time. He's very much ahead of his time as far as scouting talent. That's one thing I love about Pop is the way he scouts talent and brings guys in and finds ways to fit them in and, you know, find a system and work around. You know, he had very vanilla guys like Tim Duncan, not an exciting player, but a guy that just always got the job done. And you just that coach to player, the genius between those two players, that leadership was just incredible what he built there for that long. And it's just continued to find ways to win games every year, no matter what the roster was. It's just highly impressive. He's by far my favorite coach of all time. And I think he is the greatest coach of all time, and this selfless mentality that he has. I watched his presser last night talking about, you know, we won this, you know, we won this as a group, as all the players and coaches over the years that have contributed to this. I didn't win any of this. He's like, I can't. He's like, there's no way I could possibly win this by myself. This is a we accomplishment. So I just continue to love that guy for what he is and what he's always stood for. He's always been an activist for, you know, issues that are going on in this country. He's never been silent on issues, and that's another thing I love about him too. He's just, to me, he's the GOAT for many, many, many reasons other than just basketball. But yeah, for being a voice and a mouthpiece for, you know, silent, you know, majority of people. But yeah, Greg Popovich, man, the GOAT coach in my mind for sure.
All right. So we officially got news that Aaron Rodgers was staying with Green Bay Packers. I wanted your reactions to all these news, and obviously him coming out saying that there's no deal, there's no new contract or whatever. So,
oh, by the way, guys, Aaron Rodgers stayed with the Packers. Did you guys get that part? Like, we're almost an hour and a half into our show, and we're just now mentioning it. That's how heavy the news has been this week. We got other quarterback conversations to talk about, but yeah, well, that's according to what Rappaport said. But McAfee, who had the scoop initially, was saying that there was no actual details yet, and I don't think there have been any details released. They're saying that it's supposed to be around $50 million a year, but that's all speculative. That's all, yeah. And I loved it because Aaron Rodgers was talking about it like, "Hey, I just want to let you guys know I'm still here," like because the Russell Wilson news broke, and then everyone's talking about that because that's one of the biggest trades in the history of the NFL. And then Aaron's like, "Just want to specify, hey everyone, just want to let you guys know I'm still here. What's good? You know, like I want to let y'all know that this isn't true about the numbers. Here. Yeah, look over here. You know, like that's what it felt like. But I felt this was the right choice, and there's a lot of reasons why. You know, him staying with the Packers is the best choice. For one, if you look at the AFC side, if he really wanted to go to the AFC side, you know, there was that speculation about the Broncos being the team that wanted to go and get him, and I do believe the Broncos were full-fledged after him. It wouldn't have made sense for Rodgers' legacy. Would he have made a lot of money? Would they have been a decent team? Sure, yes. But think about the gauntlet you'd have to go through on the AFC side just to get back to a Super Bowl. And he hasn't been to the Super Bowl in 11 years on the NFC side. You really think that's going to happen now on the AFC side when you have to go through like I said, a juggernaut group of quarterbacks in the AFC side of things? I don't see it. So on the NFC side, not only is it much easier over there, but he's playing in one of the worst divisions in football. I mean, you're talking about the Bears, who are just an absolute just joke at this point. You look at the Vikings, good but never great. At best, they're a good team that makes the playoffs but never makes a deep playoff push. And then you look at the Lions, LOL, where we can just move on. So he's going to win his division again. They're going to get back in the playoffs, probably choke again, but that's his best opportunity to get to where he wants to go, which is another Super Bowl. Hopefully this offseason he ate enough butter and, excreted it out, in a more methodical manner. So maybe, he can be a little more calm in the big moments in the playoffs, not lose to Jimmy Garoppolo when Jimmy Garoppolo doesn't throw a touchdown.
That's enough slander on the back-to-back MVP of the NFL. Listen, I don't care about all the side stories and shit. I'm sure Aaron Rodgers he contributes to it absolutely. He's a seeker of the attention, and I don't really give a shit. He's great at football, and I'm expecting to be great at football again this next season. They're gonna tag. I don't know if have they tagged Devontae Adams yet?
They have not yet, and I think they're gonna tag him and then give him a long-term deal.
Yeah, I'm sure that's what's going to happen. So they want to keep that dynamic duo.
That's probably why they haven't announced Aaron Rodgers' totals yet.
Right.
Because he doesn't want to show that he's fully committed to the actual contract until they give Devontae his numbers. But they're in cap hell right now, so they're going to have to make a lot of moves for that to happen. Zadarius Smith's going to get released.
Yeah.
A lot of guys are going to get released for them to make this fit.
Yeah, we'll see what other moves they make outside of these two big ones here. They got to get these done first, but I'm expecting both those guys to be back together this year. Yep. Packers fans can rejoice. They even have a better shot now because Kirk Cousins might be out of the NFC. Russell Wilson's out of the NFC, so there's even that much more positive reasons to think that they can go get a chip this year or make another run here and not fail in the postseason, because that's the only thing they just fell flat in the postseason. That can't keep happening. But whatever the drama is going on, whatever, I'm pretty sure all this is going to get settled, and Aaron Rodgers is going to get his money. I'm pretty sure those numbers are probably accurate. He probably didn't want them out yet. That's probably what he's going to get. They're going to tag and extend Devontae Adams, and that dynamic duo is going to continue to do what they've always done. So I'm expecting another great Aaron Rodgers season, putting up great numbers and just being who he is. One of the greatest throwers, if not the greatest thrower of the football I've ever seen. So kudos to him. He deserves it. He's back-to-back MVP. That's an extremely rare and difficult thing to accomplish in the NFL. So I'm excited to watch him play some more football in a Packers uniform next year.
Nice. So last question for you guys. Obviously, you guys have seen sports news lately, and then the biggest story as of yesterday has been Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson. Now, my question to you is, with the Panthers making such a push to sign or to trade for Deshaun Watson, what does he bring to the Panthers? What can we expect from him with the Panthers? And do you think the Panthers are the right fit for Deshaun Watson?
Well, but before I even speculate on what the whole him to the Panthers situation would bring to both sides, first of all, I think there's going to be other teams that are going to make some big pushes for him. I want to start from the beginning, though, with this whole ordeal. So all of last year, we didn't see Deshaun Watson play. We didn't hear him talk. He stayed off Twitter, stayed off all of it. And I think that was the best decision he could have made. When I first heard the news about all these sexual assault allegations and all this other stuff that was going on with these women that were massage therapists, at first when I heard about it, and I didn't see details, I didn't know what exactly was said or even the amount of women that came out, I thought, oh man, the Texans are really trying to push this thing hard to get him to basically submit. And then I was quickly reminded about how ludicrous that would be. And I think that it was you two that really brought that to light to me quickly. And it's pretty obvious why. When you have over 20 women coming out at one time saying something about one particular man, and it all lines up in unison, and these women all range from 4 different states, that tells me that there's a real problem here. And let's clarify this. He wasn't proven innocent in this. Let's be very transparent here. He could be. Let's say that. He could be innocent. The fact is they just couldn't put enough on him to incriminate him and indict him and move forward with the proceedings. So, he's a free man by technicality, and that means what? He can play some football now. So you can get here and be mad at the NFL and be mad at whatever team signs him. Guys, that's just the facts of the matter here. You can call him a disgusting animal of a human being. You can call him whatever you want. And I can sympathize with some of those sentiments, because from the outside looking in, it's a very minute chance that he is completely innocent when, again, 20 different women from 4 different states are coming out and stating the obvious of what took place between him and them. And some of them weren't even civil suits. Some of these women weren't even trying to get money from him. They were just trying to save other people from potentially enduring the same experience with Deshaun Watson. They had gross details in some of these stories. So I have a hard time believing that these women are all lying. And even if 19, 20 of them that were lying, if just one was telling the truth, that is, to me, enough to say, God, that is disgusting. It's despicable. Having said all that, once again, that didn't happen. He's not going to prison. He's not facing any criminal charges. So he will be playing football in the NFL in this coming season. And there will be a market for Deshaun Watson, who is 26 years old. And when he plays as a top 5 quarterback in this league, do not mistake yourself. Do not fool yourself. There will be several teams. And the Panthers are one of the top ones. And in fact, they probably have the best chance of getting him. And they will be the most aggressive, because you even think about it from a fanhood's aspect. Where did he play college? Clemson. Where's Clemson? Carolina. Where do the Panthers play? Carolina. It makes a lot of sense to go and get him, change the trajectory of your franchise, save Matt Rule's ass, and go and try to save that franchise and build your team around Deshaun Watson for the foreseeable future. I think the Seahawks make a lot of sense. I know they're a very liberal city. They have a woman owner. So from the optics of it, that probably doesn't look very well, but they could flip that and say, look, second chances are here. We're the team that's going to provide that for him. And also, let's not bullshit here. He's going to make our team a lot better because we just lost Russell. Because we just lost Russell Wilson. Yeah. Our fan base is probably pissed off about that. Mm-hmm. We go and get Deshaun Watson. People are going to be mad for like a minute and go, how dare we sign a guy that did the things he supposedly did? And then football season comes around, those people are in the stands.
Throw on the money goggles.
Yeah, so look, I think the Seahawks make a lot of sense. I think the Panthers make a lot of sense. I think there are several of the teams. The Saints should be a team that entertains it. I know that they don't have the cap structure. They can try to trade, make some things happen. I think the Vikings should be a team that look into this as well. I think the Giants should be a team that looks into this as well. I'm naming all NFC teams intentionally because the Texans would be complete morons to trade him in the AFC. I know the Pittsburgh Steelers make a lot of sense. I know the Colts make a lot of sense. Yep. The Colts are in the same division as the Texans. That is 0% chance happening. The Steelers, it makes sense. Do you really want to have him in the AFC? No. If I'm the Texans, I'm getting him as far away from my team as possible. Do what the Seahawks just did with Russell Wilson. Get him out of your conference, a guy that you at best would have to face in the next 4 years. Deshaun Watson, to me, needs to go to the NFC, especially for his side of things, because he has a no-trade clause, which means he can somewhat choose where he goes. If I'm him, I'm going to the NFC, because outside of Matt Stafford and Aaron Rodgers, there's nothing proven out there as far as quarterbacks are concerned. Yeah, you have Kyler Murray and Trey Lance and guys like that are young, upcoming quarterbacks, but do we know what they really are at this point? No. So if I'm Deshaun Watson, I want to go to the NFC, and if I'm the Texans, I want to send his ass to the NFC, and if I'm an NFC team that doesn't have a surefire Hall of Fame quarterback, I'm trading for Deshaun Watson. I'm giving up whatever it takes, because again, when he plays, he's one of the 5 quarterbacks in football. We'll just see how this goes, but I understand the passion and zeal about the situation, but I'm glad that we finally have some sort of semblance and resolution as to what's going to take place, because for the longest time now, I felt that we were further away from resolution than we were 12 to 15 months ago when this all first came out.
Yeah, I don't even want to get into all the details or lack of details in the trial and the case. All I know is that the case was thrown out. Obviously there wasn't enough evidence to be damning to come down with some kind of penalty on him. There's a lot of questions amongst his character, who he is and what he did, but there was throughout that process there was choices made by individuals, and I think a lot of it was probably voluntary. There's probably money exchanged, and I don't know what all took place in these situations, but I don't believe anything was forced on anyone or anything like that. So that's kind of where I'm going to leave that. I don't know too much or enough to really speak on that per se. But, as far as football goes, this guy is an elite talent in my mind. I think when he's clicking on all cylinders, he's definitely a top 5 guy in this league. We saw that with the lack of talent, too. And granted, he had DeAndre Hopkins, and that duo was nice. But I think Seattle is a great spot for him to land. NFC definitely makes too much sense. The Panthers would be a good spot because they have DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson, and Chris McCaffrey for now. If they're going to trade him, I'm not sure what they're going to do with that. But that is a good offense to walk into, and it's a defense that is improving and getting better. They've had some young guys that have come over there and improved that defense. So I think that's a great. I think those are my 2 best spots for him. I think as far as the NFC goes, obviously the Steelers would be a smash spot for him with that defense and the receivers they got over there. They'd probably find a way to keep Juju along that in that mix of receivers over there if they found a way to land Deshaun. But I think they will ship him off to the NFC somewhere. I think it will be Seattle or Carolina. Those 2 make the most sense for sure. And he would immediately walk into 2 offenses that have elite receivers.
And another team I just forgot to mention is the Eagles. And according to Philly Birds Country, it's a big following or a big Twitter account on the Eagles.
That makes a lot of sense.
Jalen Hurts just removed a quarterback of the Philadelphia Eagles from his bio on his Twitter account. And I'm looking at his account right now.
They were just talking about extending.
That is true. So
yeah,
maybe he got the tip. Hey, look, man, we're going to move on from you. We're going to trade.
I don't think he's a long-term answer anyway.
Jalen Hurts. If you put Jalen Hurts and a couple first-round picks to the Texans, that would make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that's the best trade out there. There could be a better trade out there, but as it currently, I mean, look at the Seahawks. You could look at that trade from the Russell Wilson aspect and say, well, they may have gotten those trade picks back for the Jamal Adams situation to justify that trade again, but maybe they're using those to go and get Deshaun Watson.
That'd be cool to see.
But Philadelphia is an option. I think the Panthers are obviously a team that they're going to go full swing for them. They have a new owner, motivated to win.
Devonta Smith
he
over
played
there.
College in that
duo
area.
with him and Devonta Smith was kind of fun to watch.
Yeah, so those are the 3 teams I would look out for the most. But I do think by Monday or Tuesday, guys, we're going to know something about Deshaun Watson. And they're saying was it James Palmer was on local radio this week, and he said by Wednesday they should have an idea of where he's going.
Sweepstakes for him is outrageous right now. Every team is fiending for that guy. The Giants too. Other teams like that are probably looking to get a piece of that as well. So I'm excited. It's good. It's just for football purposes. I'm gonna be excited to have him back. He was just so fun to watch, man. Not having him in the AFC would kind of suck though, because I did like what was brewing there between him and Pat. There were some epic games between those 2, but yeah.
That's it for me.
All right, there you go. Well, we actually, do we have any comments, Eddie, that people have thrown anything down on?
Let's see.
I want to at least get some,
Anybody worth our time?
One of the comments was like, all the important cheese Brads is in Hawaii with Kareem Hunt until tomorrow. With the new NFL year beginning on Wednesday, expect Chiefs news by Monday. The other one was Freeman was 2020 NL MVP. Soler was World Series MVP.
Oh, I'm sorry. Soler was the MVP. I apologize on that.
After Royals traded
World
him.
Series.
World Series. Freeman was the National League MVP.
Yes.
Overall.
I thought he won the World Series MVP. It was actually Soler. Soler had like 4 or 5 home runs in that series.
Insane.
Yeah, it was unbelievable.
He was on fire the whole playoffs.
Yeah, I apologize. That was a gaffe on my behalf, but I do know that Freeman did win MVP last season. He's still one of the position players. Freeman's one of the 20 best position players in all of baseball. And that's saying something, man, because you're talking about 9 different positions on every single of the 30 teams. He's one of the 20 best, and I think if the Dodgers land him, you can almost pencil them in to be at least in the NLCS next year. But yeah, when it comes to the Chiefs things, man, just one more thing I want to add is that I really hope that everyone is excited about this offseason, because just from what the Chiefs have done inwardly, they've improved. They cut fat with Anthony Hitchens. They're going to trim the fat with Frank Clark. Their offensive line is going to be better this year from one year to the next. Even if they don't make any substantial improvements on right tackle, they just get an average player. This offensive line is going to be much better than it was last season because them working together for enough offseason. I think that you're going to see an even better McCole Hardman than he was last year, because you saw as the season progressed last year, he got better and better. Clyde will be healthier. I think the Chiefs will add a running back to the equation. I think the Chiefs are going to add a wide receiver to the equation. I think this offense is going to be better next season. And more importantly, Brett Veach knows that he's going to overcorrect on the defensive side. I don't know what players are going to be coming to Kansas City, but they're going to add pieces. We've already suggested pieces. I know the Chiefs have already looked at these same guys. It's a mystery, and we're breaking the news here as to what's available out there. Yeah. I think the Chiefs are going to trade for guys. I think they're going to sign guys, and they're going to draft some guys. And this defense is going to be much better, because if they don't, it's going to be a lot harder for the Chiefs to continue the success they've had.
I don't know if you saw today that the Dallas Cowboys announced that they're going to allow Lyle Collins to seek a trade.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's the
best right tackle in football.
That's what I'm saying. So, I mean, maybe if the Chiefs figure out a way to land that guy, add that to the mix,
I'd be interested to know what they want.
That's too much probably
in
for us,
return.
but that's pretty rich for our blood for what we're probably willing to pay a right tackle. But
if the Chiefs
that's an elite guy right there.
If the Chiefs didn't have such problems on the front seven of their defense, I'd say trade the 30th overall pick for Lyle Collins. Bro. I would gladly
imagine
do that
along this.
My God. But because of the fact that defense is the priority, they need to focus on that. Collins is probably going to be a little too rich for the Chiefs in trade market. If he was a free agent, by God, you better sign him. So,
yeah, is he going to trade? I mean, if they figure out some way to make a trade with that, shit, that'd be wild, man.
We got one more order of business to attend to, guys. What is it called? Hold this L. Each and every week, we finish off each and every episode with a series of L's in the world of sports, whether they're friendly or not friendly L's in the world of sports. We promise you, who's ever holding those L's in the world of sports deserve them motherfucking L's in the world of sports. Mr. Eddie Ortiz, Mr. Yo Yo Yo, who's holding the L for you this week, and why is it F1?
Oh shit, I'm not ready. No, not F1. I'm gonna give it to PSG. PSG. Fuck, how do you say it? Paris Saint Germain. Yeah, with the foot with PSG. Soccer, France, obviously Paris, but yeah, I'm gonna give it to them. Tuesday they had a game against Real Madrid for the Champions League. I want to say quarterfinal. I think it was quarterfinal or round of 16. I can't remember. It was a knockout match. So they were winning 1-0 on the aggregate score. They go into Real Madrid's home. They go up 1-0 right before halftime. So now you're looking at 2-0 on the aggregate, and the only way Madrid could advance is by winning the game or tying the game and taking it to overtime. But they did just that. PSG, the goalkeeper Donnarumma decided to give Real Madrid a goal, and that's all they needed to spark something up their ass. Because my God, they took over that game, and then they scored 2 more goals, and on the aggregate they won 3-2. So for PSG to let that happen to a game that they had in the bag pretty much. You were 45 minutes away from advancing into the next round.
Right.
But your goalie decided to make a mistake, cost the first goal, and then the whole team just falls apart after that. Like, there was just no chemistry. Like, the team completely changed from who they were, the game before and this game. So it was depressing seeing that. It was pretty embarrassing knowing the kind of players that PSG has with Neymar, Mbappe, Messi obviously in there, Verratti, Di Maria. So they had the star power to go into Madrid and beat them, but they did the opposite. I don't know what happened. You can sit here and cry and say, well, it was the ref's fault, yada, yada, yada. Play better. That was just horrible. That was terrible. So not only you held an L on Tuesday, but you're going to hold one today. So PSG, do me a favor and
hold this L. Trevor Twidwell, who's holding the L for you this week?
All right, so I've got kind of a trifecta L all in one. I'm just going to say it. The Indianapolis Colts, Carson Wentz, and the Washington Commanders. Listen, man, all of you lose at once. The Colts lose now because they obviously traded 2 first-round picks to go get Carson Wentz that they thought would be the answer to their quarterback woes. Elite defense, elite rushing game, and they completely fell apart in the end of the season because of their quarterback, the guy that they traded 2 first-round picks for. And not only that, he only played 1 season after trading 2 first-round picks for this guy to be your future. And I bought into it too. The story of reuniting Frank Reich with the guy that he provided the best Carson Wentz season, arguably the MVP caliber season. I bought into it. I thought he was going to be a really good answer for the Colts quarterback position. And at times he looked good. Made some crazy good throws at times. He's got talent, but the guy just doesn't have it up here. I think Carson Wentz has been broken for some years upstairs, and we saw it in that Raiders game and then that final game of the year, where it was basically a playing game for them to make the postseason. They couldn't beat Jacksonville. He was terrible. He was absolutely atrocious to watch. And Jonathan Taylor is the truth. Jonathan Taylor and that defense carried them most of the time in this season. And Carson Wentz didn't even have to do much. There wasn't even a lot of pressure on him, and he still was failing. So that is a failure in itself for Carson Wentz to not be able to overcome the Jacksonville Jaguars to possibly make a playoff berth. It's embarrassing for him. It's embarrassing for the Colts to dedicate that much, putting that much as far as pieces and money and picks to acquire this man only for one season, and just to trade him off to the Washington Commanders, who are going to pay his full $28 million in contract this year with a $5 million sign-on bonus. I think that's only for 1 year. I think it's only locking him up for 1 year, at least for this season. I don't know if they're going to extend him, but that's an L for Washington as well, to pay this man $28 million and a $5 million sign-on bonus to come play for this team. It's all just an absolute clusterfuck of a move for all three of these individuals, these two teams and this player. The downfall of Carson Wentz was so drastically quick, man. It's insane. Like he was must-watch TV a few years back, man. Like must-watch TV Carson Wentz. Every time I was watching him at any chance I could, man. He was fun for fantasy purposes. Any fantasy player knows that if you grabbed early Carson Wentz, and you found a gem in the late rounds, and a lot of people, he won a lot of people money that year. But yeah, Washington, Carson Wentz, Indianapolis Colts. This atrocity of whatever you want to call it. There's so much shit that's gone on. This has been a failure for all three of these teams. And good luck to Washington, man. For that, I felt like they had a fairly good quarterback last year that was, could possibly become a better player, but they don't have faith in him, and they want to go into this dumpster fire of a quarterback.
They got him as a backup. That's backup.
Yeah, Heineke.
No, Carson Wentz their backup.
Oh, Carson Wentz is going to be the starter.
No,
100% going to be the starter.
He's the starter. But
He's
they're paying $28 million.
$28 million of the $32 million in cap space.
Yeah, but I agree with you. I think Heineke might be the better player at this point. I like that kid a lot. I don't know what are the Colts getting as far as quarterback though.
I think it's.
Who is their? I don't even know who their quarterback is.
Supposedly
right
they're going to go Jimmy Garoppolo.
Yeah, that's.
I've heard
that's
that.
Hilarious.
That's a good fit. I think for that
Trubisky, like guys like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think that's a better fit than a turnover-prone quarterback.
Jimmy G?
Jimmy G's not like a turnover-prone guy. He's a safe guy. So that makes sense with that system and Jonathan Taylor being who he is already. My God.
Funny how Jimmy G reminds me a lot of Alex Smith in a way.
Yeah, he's that same type of prototypical, dink and dunk kind of game manager. It is successful until the postseason. Until you got to be extraordinary. That's when those kind of quarterbacks typically fail, especially in today's game. Anyways, Colts, Indianapolis Colts, Washington Commanders, and Carson Wentz. All three of y'all, do me a solid favor and
hold this L. Those are good L's, guys. Those are good L's. Chris Ballard was the guy that when he left the Chiefs, everyone thought, oh my God, what a massive loss.
Yeah.
And he did build a really good defense with the Colts.
It's not all his fault, but that was.
You trade multiple first-round picks to get Carson Wentz. He cost you your season and your playoff berth against the worst team in the AFC, and then you trade him, and then you get 2/3 in return, and people are like, "Oh, that was great! You got 2/3." They gave up 2 firsts to get him. Like, think about that.
Think they want those back?
Now the Colts don't have a quarterback.
The Eagles won that trade.
Yeah, the Colts don't have a quarterback, and they don't have a first-round pick.
Yeah.
So they massive L's. I should give
the
them.
Eagles got Devonta Smith out of that. You know what I mean?
I'm going to stay in the AFC side of things, in particular, the division we just broke down, everything we talked about all day long. We left out one team in particular. That is the Las Vegas Raiders. So the Las Vegas Raiders are sitting back watching the AFC West just get bulkier and bulkier, and the AFC just is getting bulkier and bulkier. And then the Raiders, they did re-sign Max Crosby to a lucrative deal. He got $53 million guaranteed, 4-year, $99 million. I'm very happy for Max Crosby. Love the guy to death. Derek Carr is going to get himself an extension. The other players on that team have gotten extensions when they're trying to soften the cap number. And actually, the Raiders, I believe right now, are sitting at 7th overall in cap space, right at $31.8 million in cap space, which is really good. Yeah, no one's going to want to come to the AFC West unless they're playing for a team that has Patrick Mahomes, Russell Wilson, and Justin Herbert as their quarterback, because now the Raiders have the 4th best quarterback in their own division, and Derek Carr's good. Yeah. He's a good quarterback. He's like 10 to 15th best quarterback in the league. Before Deshaun Watson got reactivated, basically, I had Derek Carr as the 10th best quarterback in the league. Go ahead.
Breaking news. Cowboys are finalizing a trade to send wide receiver Amari Cooper and a 6th-round pick to the Cleveland Browns for a 2022 5th-round pick and a 6th-round pick.
Well, I'm going to give the L now to my top 5 free agent once. Motherfucker.
He's going to Cleveland, bro. Or OBJ couldn't even catch a stride there. You think Amari's going to go over there and thrive?
Landry's gone.
Damn it.
Bro.
Wow.
Well, that sucks.
How many years? Is it just a 1-year deal, or is it
trading him?
It's a trade.
He's going to get an extension.
So he's going to fulfill his contract over. Okay. So he's just gonna. What the hell, man? Why Cleveland, bro? God damn it.
Yeah.
I'm mad.
And they're getting
Yeah, I'm mad too. So
the Cleveland Browns are sending a 5th-round pick and a 6th-round pick to get Amari Cooper.
I'm confused.
So the Cowboys are finalizing to send wide receiver Amari Cooper
for a 5th and a 6th
and a 6th-round pick to the Cleveland Browns for a 2022 5th-round pick and a 6th.
There's got to be more to
Who's
that
reporting
deal.
this?
There's got to be more
Adam
to that
Schefter.
deal. There's got to be more details to that deal, though. There's no way a 5th and a 6th.
3 minutes ago, Adam Schefter.
Oh, what the hell,
mad.
man?
A 5th and a 6th, that can't be right.
Dude, there's got to be more details to that.
That's all he said. A 5th and a 6th.
How did the Chiefs not make this goddamn trade?
This upsets me. Man. Well, you can add another L to your list.
Motherfucker, dude. They got
God
a 2022 5th-round pick and a 6th-round pick for Amari Cooper?
Yeah, that's what's it.
What the fuck, man?
Ah, damn it.
How did the Chiefs not...
How did no one else have more to offer? I mean, let alone the Chiefs, but like...
The Chiefs could have just thrown a 3rd-round pick and called it even.
You could have reunited with the Raiders for the same price. They had more to offer, too. God damn. All right, well...
I'm mad.
Yeah, I'm upset.
I'm very, very angry right now.
This is a disappointment year for Brett Beach?
Well, look, there's
whiff.
still. I will maintain my integrity here with what I said. That there are even if the Chiefs miss on Amari Cooper, there are still several other options out there they can get. They're going to be absolute upgrades at wide receiver too. But he was the unicorn, man. Damn. And now they traded him for fucking pennies on the dollar.
A 5th and a 6th.
That doesn't make any sense, man. How did Cleveland? How did Cleveland swing that?
They got a bag of jerky. They tried a bag of jerky.
Why would
for
he go to
Amari
Cleveland
Cooper.
though? Like he could have went somewhere. He could have.
Well, I don't think he can agree.
I mean, I know they
I don't think he has
trade.
a trade clause. I don't think he has a no trade clause.
They're like, fuck you. We're sending you to Cleveland, bro. This is what we think you're worth. A 5th and a 6th.
5th and a 6th-round pick, dude.
That's insulting. I'm insulted.
Well, I'm glad you guys got to see my live experience of this right as the show's about to end.
Watch you die inside live on air.
Son of a bitch. Well, Allen Robinson, Juju Smith-Schuster, what's good? Because those are very viable options.
Come on,
bring it on, bitches. Let's do this. Let's come win a Super Bowl. God, hey, good luck and enjoy being under and overthrown by Baker Mayfield next season. That's gonna be fun for Amari Cooper. Poor guy.
Jesus, man.
Poor guy. Well, I'm going to go ahead and extend my L, and I'm going to continue this through the tears that I'm currently crying. The Raiders, man, I feel bad for them because of the fact that you look at this offseason, and they have cap space. They have a good quarterback. They're feeling good about their head coach. It's going to be an absolute nightmare in Josh McDaniels, but they're feeling good about themselves. And then they have to look across the way and see 3 AFC West opponents that have upgraded at key positions that have 3 clearly better quarterbacks than their quarterback, even though, again, their quarterback is good. Russell Wilson, Justin Herbert, and Patrick Mahomes. And then the fact that, again, you're creating this cap space to see these guys go elsewhere because they're not going to pin themselves to a franchise that is going to be, at best, the 3rd or 4th best team in their own division. So I wish the Raiders nothing but the best of luck in this one because you're going to need all of it. I know you guys made the playoffs this last year. You had to beat 4 straight bad teams and non-playoff teams to even get there, and a lot had to go right for you guys. You're about to overpay for Derek Carr. It's the only choice you really have at this point. You're extending your guys to give yourself the best chance, but y'all ain't got no chance, and I know this offseason is going to be fun to convince yourselves that y'all can make a run. You're going to be the 4th best team in your own division. For that, spend that money, do what you do. It's Las Vegas. It's what you guys do out there already, but you have to do me a solid and hold this L because the coin slots are dry. So we got a lot of news, guys. I hope you guys are ready for this next week. We're going to have a ton to talk about next week. We're hopefully going to have our guy from DNVR Sports, Broncos beat reporter, Zach Stevens on next week. He was going to be on this week. Had to go out of town last minute this week, but he will hopefully be with us next week to discuss the whole Broncos thing, what they're thinking about right now, fans, what's the pulse on the fan base out there? Are they excited about this? What do they think about Russell Wilson? I want to get all of his thoughts on this, but this is what we have for you guys as it currently stands. Stay tuned tuned. Join us on Facebook. Join us on Twitter as well. We are constantly having conversation about what's going on, up to the minute, news-related situations that are going on. Join us on our Facebook group. Join us on the Spoken Pod on Twitter. We'd love to hear from you guys. Let us know what you guys are thinking as well. It's free to everybody to what you guys want to participate in. And we talk sports all the time. So for Trevor Twidwell, for Eddie Ortiz, for the great Clay Wendler that puts all this stuff together, I am Lance Twidwell. Episode 158 of the Spoken Podcast is done, finished, and finito. And until we're here next week for episode 159, and I clear my throat after this, we out of this bitch.
Fuck the Browns.